Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame in his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
And with us here, special guest, friend of the show, and I would say Islander and just NHL prospect extraordinaire, Nicole Shirman. How are you?
She's not an NHL prospect.
No, NHL prospect.
You said NHL prospect.
I'm right up there with Bedard, guys. Don't get it wrong.
NHL prospect talent evaluator extraordinaire. I don't know, Grumpy. I didn't
much
go
better. Much better.
Yes, there it is. We got Grumpy. We got to make sure we pump her up, Grumpy. There it is. That's the NHL prospect evaluating extraordinaire, Nicole Shirman. How are you, Nicole?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I was about to say it's been too long since the last time you've been on the show. It's almost been like almost a year since we last.
I think
talked.
maybe even more now. Yeah, from last draft, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus,
Yeah.
That's right, man. There have been so many positive things to talk about since last draft, since last year around this time frame. But before we get started today in the show, if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is a twice a week All Islanders podcast. It takes place every single Wednesday and every single Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're new to the channel, we encourage you, we implore you to do a few things. We implore you to subscribe on YouTube, to like on Facebook, and to follow on Twitter. It's the best way to make sure you don't miss out on any of the future content we put out. And we've got linked in the description below, for Nicole, right? She talks all things Islanders. She talks and covers and does a great job covering Islander prospects, covering prospects just in general. You can find her information. You'll find it in the link in the description below. But the best place to find Nicole is on Twitter. So if you don't have a Twitter, you need to sign up for a Twitter or operate one of those egg Twitter accounts like Grumpy has, so you can go ahead and find Nicole's opinions and takes there on Islanders prospects, so you don't have to wait a year before the next time you're getting the updates on Islander prospects. You can find Nicole's Twitter information in the link in the description below, or you can find her at Nicole F. Shirman on Twitter is the best place to find her. Oh, one more housekeeping item. I feel like this is the episode for plenty of housekeeping items. We also do have a secondary podcast that takes place every single Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every single Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. It's a twice a week all sports podcast where myself, the Grumpy Old Man, that magnificent Son X, we just talk anything and everything sports. We talk hockey, we talk baseball, we talk soccer, we talk MLB, we talk baseball, we talk MLB, we talk NBA, we talk college athletics, we talk NFL, we talk anything and everything sports on that show. It's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. It can be found in the link in the description below or as a featured page here on our YouTube channel. Now that all of the housekeeping gobbledygook is out of the way, I want to get some updates on some Islanders. Today we've got prepared. We want to get some updates on some of the Islanders in the organization who have, impressed at the junior level. We want to get some updates on guys who have made their first transition there to Bridgeport, who we've got our eyes out there for the Bridgeport Islanders, the baby Islanders, how the Islanders did in the draft. And we've got some, people are coming out with ranking lists, and some may be shocking. Some are shocking Islander fans, where defensemen rank on lists, where wingers rank on certain NHL.com lists. So we've got a lot of fun topics to discuss today. What, Grumpy? I know you're dying to say something.
Did you say that what we're going to do is have Nicole go over our prospects? Is that
we want to talk about our prospects in the system?
Well, it shouldn't take too long. We don't really have too many of them.
Okay.
Probably like a 5-minute segment.
Well, first, let me ask this, Nicole. This year was a deep draft in 2023, and it was one where the top end talent. This is supposed to be a generational type draft, and this was a year that we traded away our first round pick, much to my chagrin. I was very upset by it, but we did have, I think was it a third round pick was the earliest selection we had.
Second round pick, number 49.
Low key here, Grumpy. Second round pick by Danny Nelson. Now, Nicole, I want to get your overall opinion of how you thought we did in this year's NHL draft.
I think we did relatively well. I think like the previous years, we have some hidden gems, considering we didn't pick anyone in the first round that can really, show up later on and make a difference on the NHL level.
Well, that's good to hear too. I know you mentioned, we were talking a little bit beforehand about Danny Nelson. You think he's probably, the selection, right? Second round pick. You hope he's the guy who's going to have the highest chance and the likelihood to pan out there at the next level. But you were talking and singing a little bit of the praises of Danny Nelson. And I wanted to understand a little bit about what, and Islander fans and listeners of the show want to understand a little bit about what they have in a guy like Danny Nelson and what he maybe can contribute to the Islanders one day.
Sure. I mean, I was joking, like when we drafted him, that he's Brock Nelson Jr. And of course, the name plays part of that. But he's also from Minnesota. Actually, he wore number 11 growing up, because guess who his favorite player is?
Who is that?
Don't say Zach Parise. Don't say Zach Parise.
He is.
Oh, Parise, Grumpy.
From Minnesota, going to Notre Dame, like some of our favorite Islanders. Very good size, so he's 6'3", 203 pounds. From the NTDP, left shoots left. And interestingly, he actually played defenseman for a year in high school before going back to center. So he has that aspect of his game very much in check. So he was player of the game in the U18 Worlds.
Oh, wow.
So that was for the gold medal winning game. US won, and actually the captain of that team was another one of our newly drafted prospects, which I'll get into later. But he's a good skater, has good puck skills, can shoot very well, good work ethic from what I could find. Decent on the physicality. Some scouts say that he can stand to improve on, but if we're talking about a high level prospect, I'm more concerned about skills than anything, and skating, which are there, good penalty killer, and a lot of talent that can be further developed into what the Islanders want to see from a prospect. A lot of people are saying like he should have went a lot higher, maybe even in the late first round. So I think we really have sort of a hidden gem here still.
A guy that could be like one of those late selections that we were able to that fortuitously found its way into our draft cupboard, Grumpy.
Mm-hmm.
Grump, I want you to mention kind of what you're thinking and thoughts.
Yes, I noticed he's got strawberry blonde hair and blue eyes, Nicole.
Oh my God, no, that's okay. You have to let it go.
Did that have any type of bearing on how highly you're rating Danny Nelson?
He's a child, no. It's been a few years since that had any standing.
Okay.
Now, when I see 6'3", 202 pounds now, and I don't recall if you had mentioned this there in the talking about him. Does he have an air of physicality? Is he an overly physical type player? Is this a guy that I assume just with the size, he's more of like a power forward type, or is he a guy where he's more of a, I'd say Brock Nelson has size, but he's not an overly physical guy. If he has to be, he will, but he's not a guy who is a physical guy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's another aspect of that Brock Nelson comparison. He has physicality if he needs to show it, but it's not the overwhelming aspect of his game. So he's more focused on skills, which he has a lot of.
I'm just looking at his penalty minutes. I mean, you're 6'3". Remember, he's 18 years old, I guess.
Sure.
And he's over 200 pounds at 6'3", which, I mean, he's not a string bean.
It's a string bean, man. Are you kidding me? 200 pounds at 6'3".
Okay, well, all right. He's not an offensive lineman, okay? But,
Okay.
He's a hockey player. But what I'm saying is 203 pounds for 6'3" at that 18 years old, that's not really thin. Usually kids at that age are like 6'3", maybe 180. I mean, he doesn't look fat in his picture. So, I mean, it looks like, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't have baby fat on him. So maybe it looks like he's put together. I looked at the penalty minutes, 40 penalty minutes, 23 games. So, and I don't know if they're all hooking charges or interference or if it's roughing or what, I don't know. But the fact that he has some penalty minutes tells me that he's not afraid to mix it up a little bit.
No, he's not. He's not. He has the physicality when he needs to. But I wouldn't say, he's no Tom Wilson.
Okay.
Okay. That makes enough sense. Now, let me ask you. Obviously, Danny Nelson was the guy that we feel, most optimistic about his potential there to be an Islander one day and to have a positive impact. Out of the other 4 selections, I know we have so many other ones for you to pick from, but who is the other selection that you're looking from? If you had to pick one other player in this year's draft, you think this is a sneaky good selection that has high upside there in the later rounds?
Put the names back up, TJ.
I'll put the. I'm a visual guy too, bro. I'll put the names.
You want
back.
one? I mean, you have Zach Schultz. So that was our 5th round pick at 177. 5th round? Was he 5th round?
Yep, 6th round.
6th round. Sorry, 6th round. Yeah, we didn't have a 3rd round pick. Sorry. So our 6th round pick, 6 foot, 197 pounds. Also shoots left. But he's a stay-at-home defensive defenseman. Good transition game. He captained that USA squad that Danny Nelson played on. That won gold at the U18s.
Wow.
And now he's not going to be any offensive powerhouse, but he's a good skater with a physical game, and he's reliable. Which, I mean, when you're talking about who do you see as an Islanders defenseman, I think this is a sneaky good pick.
Okay, I was about to say he fits, and I assume he's going to college there, being in the United States there.
University of Wisconsin. Yep.
Are they good?
Yeah, they're usually
they're
pretty
good. Very passionate fan base.
Okay, gotcha. I wasn't sure because I'm thinking the Blue Bloods. I know Michigan's been extremely good as of late there in Boston University. I'm going to look foolish talking about college hockey that I watch 0 of.
Don't worry, you look foolish every time you talk.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to keep it at least status quo, Grumpy. So Zach Schultz, there's Zachary Schultz. I mean, the majority of these guys, and I assume even Danny Nelson, these are guys that are, best case scenario, 4 or 5 plus years away. I mean, I assume they're going to be in college for 3, if not 4 years before they make it to Bridgeport, and at least will need 1, maybe 2 seasons in Bridgeport. So these are all long-term projects, 6, 20, 23, 24 years old. Maybe they have a chance to start making it into the NHL, making an impact.
Oh yeah, let's we can talk about Jesse Nurmi, who is our 4th round pick. And he can't even come over because of his contract situation and how it works with the IAHF agreement. He can't even come over until 2025-26.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we're talking about if they do make an impact, we're talking down the line.
Wow. Okay. I guess
don't fool around with Jesse's girl.
Jesus. I want to. Well, I appreciate you kind of giving us updates on this year's draft. I want to ask a little bit about. Now, you were very big on Aatu Raty.
Mm-hmm.
This now dating back almost 2+ years ago. I feel like the day they had drafted him, you were extremely big
mm-hmm.
on Aatu Raty. Now, Islanders parted ways with him in their 1st round pick this last year at the deadline. I want to get your thoughts. I want to get what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, I mean, I was upset just because I'm the sentimental type, and I've sort of been rooting for him since we drafted him. He was sort of that underdog. He fell so much in the draft, and the announcement came out, and my Twitter inbox was just full of, "Are you okay? Are you still alive?" Yeah, so that just goes to show how I was. How everyone perceived my connection to him. But I think the trade was one that needed to happen. I think a full season of Horvat and Barzy is something I'm looking forward to. I think in the few games they had together, with the injury stuff, they really meshed well, and I'm excited to see how that chemistry builds over a full season. And I've seen, interestingly enough, I've actually seen that's a whole other topic, but people are Horvat has one of the worst contracts in the league. How can you judge a contract that hasn't even started? He hasn't, right? Anyway, but the Islanders' window, if there is a window, is now, and I don't think they weren't really willing to wait until Aatu Raty could sort of be that 2 seed some people projected. So it makes sense.
So let me ask you this. Now, I thought Raty maybe would have been able to step in this year as a number 3 or a bottom 6 center. I thought that he would have been able to maybe make the jump, play him in a limited role. But a guy like that, I mean, because what is he now, 22 years old? I mean, he should start getting to the spot to where, hey, I could start I'm a guy. Maybe I'm too good for the A, but I'm not 100% ready there for the NHL, and I'm gaining experience now. I thought he had been ready this upcoming year, and I thought that was going to slide in perfect into the plan to continue to infuse some of the young talent. But I was like, when they had traded him, I was just kind of, I don't know, I was left questioning why they had done it for a guy who was going to be a UFA. Obviously, they signed Bo Horvath at the time. There was a lot of questions
There were.
went on at the time period of that trade.
Yeah, I mean, so I was thinking, if anything happens and they try to dump Peugeot's contract, that maybe Raty could slot in at 3C. But the issue is, even though like we saw a lot of offensive potential, like in the games he played with us, he scored in his first game. I mean, like it was electric. When you're talking about like the role he would have to play as 3C, sort of more offensive, defensive, I mean. While he is, I think, relatively responsible for his age and like skills, I don't think that's something that maybe Lou and Lambert saw slotting in too well. And obviously, I guess they didn't want to move Peugeot. So, I mean, it's a lot of what ifs, what if. But I think like if I saw him slotting in anywhere in the lineup right now, it would probably have been like on someone's wing where he could have sort of still like had someone to lean on and just focus more on like further developing in the NHL level.
So you still think though with Vancouver, he's got a solid shot to make it. Now that's one thing I worry about is Vancouver. It seems like where young top prospects go to die. So I hope he's not going to be one of the numbers.
Yeah, so I wasn't following him nearly as closely as when he was with Bridgeport, but he had some good games with the mini Canucks. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know what the Canucks are planning, like what their outlook is, if they're what they think their window is. But I mean, I'm rooting for him. It's hard to say with someone else's system and like their prospects.
Sure. And another guy that I think another Swedish fella who was drafted last year was Kalle Odelius. Now that was a guy who had slipped a little bit to us in the draft selection 2 years ago. Now I don't keep up and watch any Swedish hockey or any. That's why Nicole is who does this.
Why don't you bring up the draft picks? So Nicole, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you familiar with how the Islander draft picks from last year and the year before have progressed, or?
Relatively, yes. So
Okay.
we can do that. So let's see. Odelius played 43 games in like Sweden's second tier league. We can call it that. And in those 43 games, he had 11 points, which isn't anything crazy offensive, but I think like he was relatively dependable. And when you're talking about that league, so he's playing amongst men. I think he's like still on the right path. I think especially like hopefully we see him transition into the AHL sooner rather than later. And he sort of further develops into the North American style of hockey. So I still think that pick can very much pay off.
Now again, like that's a guy who obviously is years away. Now Matthew Maggio, that's the guy. That is the flavor of the month. He won the OHL Player of the Year, had a fantastic year. Guys like Phil's Fiction over here shouting from the rooftops, "Oh, Maggio, he's going to be great." I don't watch any Windsor Spitfire games. I don't watch any OHL games. What can we expect in a guy like Maggio? Should we be excited or should we hold off a little bit on the excitement?
Sure. You should be excited like you were excited for William Dufour. I think the circumstances are very similar.
Grumpy was not excited at all for William Dufour.
Well, I'm still excited for William Dufour. So, I mean, he was an overager, but I mean, what you're able to do in a league, like scoring at that rate, showing up when you need to, it's obviously amazing. I think he has all the necessary components to make that transition into Bridgeport, like Dufour did, further develop a little there, shape his game to reflect pro hockey better, and hopefully also make the transition into the NHL. So I think some reasonable excitement is very much warranted. Obviously, don't expect him to, be the next Ovechkin, but I think it's reasonable to assume that he will be able to make some impact on the NHL level if all goes to plan.
So what do you think about people who are out there maybe on social media comparing him to fantastic ex OHL MVP winners? Like I think it was Huberdeau was one there for the St. John Sea Dogs, and they're comparing him to players of that ilk. Should we be expecting somebody of that talent level?
I mean, Dufour got all the Huberdeau comparisons, obviously, because he had like a record-breaking season also in the queue like Huberdeau, but obviously they were older at that point. And it's notable no matter what age you're able to like break those records at and put out those points at, but it is junior hockey, and like as always you can be excited. I am excited, but you have to also weigh like how the transition can go, and even if he's obviously not going to put up anywhere near the same numbers in like the AHL or the NHL. So I think we will still see offense, but don't tone it down by 5, 6, 7.
Okay. So we need to taper the expectations, and we need
I mean, you can expect like probably a good lower 6 player, maybe mid 6.
a good bottom. Okay. So like
bottom, I can't even speak today. Yes, bottom 6, mid 6, depending on. I mean, I can probably tell you after 1 or 2 years in Bridgeport how we can see him panning out.
Now the big issue with Dufour was a guy struggled skating. A guy who that was the big worry about him. He had a fantastic release. And Grumpy, interrupt me. Don't feel free to interrupt me there, Grumpy. Anytime you want to chime in.
I'm just listening. I want to know about. I'm going to let you finish on Maggio, then I'm going to ask a question.
Well, I was more talking about Dufour at this point, but I mean, like that was the big knocking point on Dufour. Couldn't skate well, or maybe he needed some room for improvement. For Maggio, what are really the developmental points that he's got to work on when he's in Bridgeport? And again, he's another one of those players that are a project piece that's at least a few years away. But what really are the big improvement points for him?
I mean, I wouldn't say that his skating is concerning, but of course, there's room to improve. I think just like obviously his like shooting. Like he's a great goal scorer. I don't think his playmaking isn't bad. I'd say it's even above average. But if you're talking about something he can continue to improve on, maybe become more well-rounded, that's something he can certainly work on when he makes the transition over to Bridgeport. And obviously just sort of adjusting like what it means to score goals against professional defensemen and goalies compared to OHLers.
16.
Yeah. So it's pretty similar to where Dufour was at this point, but I think Maggio's skating overall is slightly better.
Okay. Gotcha. And it's now Grump, you had a question about Dufour, because I had another question I wanted to ask about Dufour his first year in Bridgeport.
Okay, you can ask about Dufour. I want to hear Nicole's point of view on Quinn Finley and Isaiah George and how they progressed over last season.
Yeah, and like the skating was a big thing for Dufour. Now we've heard from, again, like anytime we hear it in the chat, I've got to take it with a grain of salt. We've heard that it looks like his skating is better than what it had been in the past. Now, has he been making meaningful strides, pun intended, in the progression of his skating? Has it looked like, okay, William Dufour is now at least an average? Because if a guy can be an average skater and he's got all the tools outside, that's a guy who could find a spot in an NHL lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he was struggling in the AHL. I thought he could keep up with the game as needed. I wouldn't say that. I mean, of course, if you improve skating overall, your game improves. But I wouldn't say right now it's like tremendously hurting him. So I think it's not like a blinking red light of concern right now. I could see strides being made.
Okay, well that's good at least. And again, he's still young. He's able to improve that. I mean, there's going to be he's never going to be a great skater, but if he can even be an average or slightly below average NHL skater, he's going to.
We got one of those guys. We got one of those. We got quite a few of those guys on our team already.
We do.
I was about to say, so as long as they can at least be average, that's really what we're hoping for, and I think that's going to be fine there in success. Now, Grumpy, you wanted to ask about Quinn Finley. You wanted to ask about Isaiah George. I'm going to let you take it from there, Grumpy.
Yes. Did we see progression? I was intrigued by Quinn Finley when we drafted him.
So he played in the USHL. He was traded midway through the season. So he played for the Capitals and the Steel. In 23 games for the Madison Capitals, he had 27 points, 10 goals, 17 assists, and in 32 games for the Chicago Steel, he had 15 goals, 23 assists for 38 points. So, yeah, I think he's been progressing nicely, and he's going to be in Wisconsin, this University of Wisconsin, with Zachary Schultz. So they'll be hopefully playing together this year. So that's also something to look forward to.
I was about to ask you about Quinn Finley because I'm like, usually after the draft class year,
Mhm.
if you're playing in the USHL, you go to college afterwards. But I thought it was odd to see him
Yeah.
play another year in the USHL.
He was very young when we drafted him. I think he was still 17 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's
Okay.
going to be making his college debut this coming season.
Now that
So
makes
was
no
he-
sense.
So was he just, I'm just going to say, was he too dumb to get into college his first year and he needed to get his grades up before they'd accept him? Or was it just strictly because, maybe he was going to a prep school and he hadn't graduated yet, even though his age fell, his parents held him back a year?
Yeah, that
He was
was
young. He was
too
young.
stupid to get in. I agree with that one, Grumpy. Whatever that answer is. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, so he's an August baby. So
Okay.
he turned 19 August 8th. So he would have been 17 at the time of the draft. So it's like a year back. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, and another player too, prospect wise. Now there's
And
two.
you make it sound like every athlete is some type of genius who's able to qualify to get into school.
Okay, usually hockey players are pretty smart guys now, Grump. Come on now. You saying we got hockey players that are dumb as stumps? What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, when you're an athlete, sometimes the books don't get as much attention as they possibly should.
Now, another guy there was actually a few more guys. Now, we've seen in that same 2020 draft, there were a lot of question marks around it. That was during, that COVID year had happened. Now, let me ask you a little bit about Alex Jeffries. Now, he's a guy from Merrimack College who played well. And again, I don't watch any of the college hockey. I don't watch any prospects play. But the numbers look like they're there. And again, like in college, right, are you competing against grown men? No, you're still competing against teenagers, kids in their young 20s. But the numbers look like they're there for a forward. Should we be excited for a guy like Alex Jeffries?
Yes, the numbers are definitely there, and I think you should be excited. So let's see, 41 points in 38 games, 14 goals, 27 assists. And he follows me, so will be nice. We should be nice. Sorry, yeah. Anyway, it gets awkward sometimes. Like parents and family members will follow me, and I'm like, oh. Yeah, but in this case, the niceness is warranted. I think he's like, ever since we drafted him, actually, he's been pretty underrated, even by fans in our own fan base. I think, especially like the way he's been performing, there's a lot of potential there. And he's also one of those players I'm excited to see make the transition into pro hockey.
Yeah, because I was like, and like some of the college stats, it's like, I don't know whether to discern. I don't know if Merrimack is a big school where they're competing against top level competition, or is he just, and again, like a guy like that, he played well off the jump street there for Merrimack. And I've noticed again, progressively points are going up. I'm like, I noticed he doesn't get a lot of press, right? He's not the popular kid to talk about. And it was this year was a lot of, hey, they're talking about Maggio, but a guy like Alex Jeffries, I'm like, that's right. I feel like a guy like that might be able to make a transition. I was curious about him. And now you were talking before that it looks like Jakob Skarek may have been passed over a little bit, and Tristan Lennox, our goalie prospect, looks to be the next in line there.
Yeah, so 2022, Skarek had one really good month. I mean, like, I was excited. I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere. You see like that progress being made. Like, you see the potential. Then he got injured. He got sick. The play fell drastically. And then I'm like, okay, 2023 is an opportunity to see him sort of get back to that level we've seen him be able to reach. It didn't happen. I think like goalies obviously take some time to develop. I wouldn't say he's not old. He's not old for like a goalie prospect. He still has time, but like the hesitation he sometimes had in that, like the mistakes he made, I think Lennox right now has surpassed him as far as like our farm system of goalies goes.
Huh. And I kind of, I kind of try to take it with a grain of salt because I looked at the numbers and I watched maybe a few clips of Scarif. I'm like, okay, that doesn't look great. But I'm like, I think to myself, I'm like, I was thinking the same thing even about Samuel Bolduc. I mean, he had a great year during the COVID year when we had played more of the shortened schedule. I was like, okay, this guy seems to be, the real deal, top prospect for us. The year after that, struggled. And then this last year, I mean, he played well. And we saw in the NHL, I was like, okay, I like the tool set that this kid has. This is a kid I could see being successful.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was waiting for that bounce back, like, after 2022, like, the injuries and everything. Right away, like, all of my tweets were, like, he's going to have, like, a great bounce back here. And then it started, and it was there, and I was so happy. You see, like, because he has the potential. He has all the tools to make it work. So I think, like, he's also relative, like, defenseman can also take a little while longer to develop, but it's very promising what we've seen from him on both pro levels. And I think if he continues sort of this trend going forward, we can see him sort of have a permanent place in the D-Corps.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, Grumpy, what other questions? Because I've got some other questions I want to move on. But I want to make sure
Isaiah George, right? He was injured with a foot injury for most of the season. But when he came back, he's like one of the best skaters of his draft class. It's very evident to see. Like, it's going to be easier to see, like, with a full season, of course. But I mean, that skating is like on another level. He's a fantastic skater.
And I know. Go ahead.
And I know you were kind of high on Robin Salo previously, I believe. And it seemed to me like they played him for a cup of coffee, and it seems like he's just fallen out with the organization. And I don't understand that. I mean, to me, it's kind of baffling when you see certain players that look like they have skill sets that could translate to the NHL, and they don't get the shot. Ruslan Ishikov. That's okay. I know I say his name wrong. It doesn't matter. I'm always going to say it wrong. So, but I see guys like that who look like they absolutely should transition in some way to the NHL, and they don't seem like they get legitimate chances, it's bothersome to me. And I just want to know how you feel about those two players in particular, and the lack of upward movement by players those skill sets.
Let's touch on both of them. So Salo actually, like, I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but the timing is interesting. So he had that quote about and I don't know. I don't want to say Lou's punishing him, but I can't say that he's not.
He is.
We remember, yeah.
We had pontificated. We had gone out on a limb and thought for a while. I'm like, he said that he thought Bridgeport essentially, I'm paraphrasing, was a dump.
He said it was a den. Like, there wasn't much to do.
Yeah, well, it was not. He did not paint Bridgeport in the area in the in the team in a positive light, or the place of Bridgeport in a positive light. And I was like, I always thought it's a punishment. After that point, it's like, no.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Like, it's weird to say out loud, but like, given how Lou runs sort of the organization, who knows? Like, can we say that it's not?
Absolutely, it is. We've heard the story when he was with the Devils, and he fired people, and he sat there at the elevators, hit the bricks once he fired people, which is kind of shitty, and says more about him, honestly, than anything else. And we've just seen with young guys before how, man, you get on his wrong side, Josh Ho-Sang for whatever reason, Kiefer Bellows with, the performance-enhancing drugs, Bodie Wild not getting vaccinated. It's just
he's not good. I mean,
well, I just think that if you don't like them and they're not going to be part of your organization, you cut them loose, because it seems like he just keeps them on the team just to punish them and is never going to give them a shot. And then by the time they hit 25 years old, no one's going to want them, and then he lets them walk. No, I think like I said, I just don't like that. It's slimy to me. So it really is.
Ruslan Ishikov is probably the single most skilled prospect when you're talking about pure skills in our farm, in our prospect pool. I mean, they call him Mr. Magic. Like, the things he can do with the puck are magical. If you can actually go on Twitter, pull up that shootout goal that went viral.
I'll pull that up there, Ruslan.
Yeah, I mean, he's extremely skilled. He's being punished for being on the smaller size. Yeah, on the smaller side. Because like I think given what we know he's able to do, he should have gotten a shot in the NHL because we struggle to score shootout after shootout. And then like, it was ironic. I think like the day before, the day of, there was a game. No Islanders scored in the shootout, and then he went out and scored like one of the best shootout goals I've ever seen. Let's watch this.
The Islanders with a chance to break this one wide open with a 3-goal second period. Sam Ersson will see his first penalty shot against this year. The AHL All-Star is in, wide right, holds, waits, and he scores! Oh my goodness!
He was feeling it. He was smelling himself on the way in there.
All-Star, unbelievable tally from right in front of the net.
What excuse, given our scoring woes, do you have for not giving him like a single game?
He's obviously got the hands, right? And we had injuries last year. The guy's got the hands. I assume he's got the offensive acumen. From everything we hear, he excels at that level. Obviously, he's undersized, so that might be an issue, but that's about it.
I'm going to say that's not the first time he tried that move.
So no, he's had this like Mr. Magic nickname since his college, like since before his college days. So he played for Connecticut.
Yeah.
And he's always been known as this like very skilled player. And I mean, hopefully he'll be able to get a shot this year because like I don't see like a reason to just sort of keep him in this limbo otherwise.
I can see a reason because Lou Lamoriello's got everybody locked up to 50-year contract extensions, so he's never going to give a young guy a shot. I mean, he always struck me as being someone who's not super fast, but it's quick and shifty. And for the life of me, if that's not what you're looking for in a skill set of a player, why do you even draft him if you're never going to give him a shot? See, those are the frustrating things that, as an Islander fan, that I always find. The kid, even coming into his draft year, electric with the puck on his stick.
Yeah.
Okay, was going to college a little bit short of stature. Should have went earlier than he did probably. But then you see what he's able to do, and you just don't give him a shot on a team that's bereft of scoring. Let's just be honest. When Matt Barzal won out, why would you not give a kid like that a shot? You're playing that useless Simon Holmstrom, who's just a zero. And that's being generous to zero.
I'm surprised we went this long without one cast for the ghost joke. It must be a new record.
Well, we don't talk about it all the time, but we all know. We all know. TJ, can you put the picture of him up when he was in the movie Deliverance?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put it up for you.
Put him up side by side. He didn't need much makeup for that role. That's all.
I'm not putting it up side by side, Gumpy. I'll pull the picture of him up. All right, buddy.
Okay. Just because Nicole knows what he looks like. But we're just going to
show this all the time, Grumpy.
We don't show it all the time.
You do.
Probably
His face got better. His face got better.
Probably the third time on the show ever that we're showing this picture.
I think it's been the previous 2 times that I've been on there that you showed it.
Oh yeah, I'm saying it's been more than just twice, but we'll just run with it for Grumpy's sake. You go, Grumpy.
And there he is. There's Casper Holmstrom. There he is, playing a banjo, picking around, sitting on his little chair there. He's a better banjo player than he is a hockey player. I can tell you that much.
Now
he wasn't hurting the team. I'd say he was even helping, like in the AHL. But when you talk about, of course, the NHL level, how to rationalize giving him who can be a decent playmaker a shot over someone like Ishakov?
It's now I don't feel like we're gonna have any spots potentially open for a guy like that, and I wish we would, but I'm just like thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, we sign Engvall back, we go ahead and we've got Hudson Fasching, and I love what Hudson Fasching has done, right? So like we sign Hudson Fasching, we've got guys like Simon Holmstrom that have already been up there, who've played in more critical situations, and I think that they like his skill set for a bottom 6 guy. And I'm just like, unless there's a substantial amount of injuries to a winger position, I don't see a guy like that, whether it's justified or not, getting a chance this year.
I mean, yeah, you see what I think like Islanders fans and the organization itself has this sort of very regimented view about what they want to see from the bottom 6. They want to see physical, sort of like more stay at home, like dependable. And Isakov isn't that. But there's no rule in the NHL rulebook that says your bottom six can't have skill.
Sure.
So, I think I just have to learn from that.
That will be nice. Now, one more prospect. He's been getting a lot of run, and I'm going to mispronounce his last name. The Robert Mastrosimone, or he's a fella who was drafted by Detroit in a second round a few years ago, but he's a Long Island kid. Now, apparently the rumor is maybe this is a guy who did not sign the contract in Detroit, who is a free agent. The Islanders might be interested in a guy like this. Have you done any sort of research there on Robert M?
Robert M. Robert M.
I can't pronounce his fucking last name.
Yeah, so there's speculation, and I mean, it hasn't been confirmed that based on his social media, he is an Islanders fan.
Yes,
yes, like that's always nice, But we've had like sort of this free agent frenzy, like of like younger players the past few years too. We're like, like the Islanders are always in the talks, and then we end up not really getting any of the big young ones.
Like that for
I don't know, but I mean, it doesn't hurt that he's a hometown sort of boy.
Nicole,
nice. He's of course a good player. Let me pull up his stats right now.
You can pull up stats up.
42 points in 38 games with Arizona, 11 goals, 31 assists. I mean, if you sign someone like that, like two-way contract, or to like just give it a tryout in the AHL if he's willing to, there's no reason not to. But like right now, it's up to him. So the speculation. I mean, hopefully Lou's going after him, but who knows?
I'm like, why did he leave Boston University to go to Arizona State of all places?
Arizona State brought a few good players in. I think it all had to do with the Moletta.
Okay. Boston
University. Shane Doan's kid went there too. That's right.
I don't care. Boston University is a NCAA powerhouse. Arizona State, it's like a rec league by comparison. I just want to know why he would leave Boston University to go to Arizona State, first of all. And one other thing I want to touch on, Nicole. The Islanders are always, or the cartel is saying that the Islanders are in on all these guys, and they never sign anyone. You want to know why? Because they're not in on anyone. It's just to keep the fan base interested by saying, oh, yeah, the Islanders are trying to make the team better, but they never do.
No, so I'll from my personal life, I can't say names, and I don't feel comfortable naming who it is. But someone who used to be a professional player and a prospect said, around the league, like people don't necessarily want to play for Lou, given what he's like. And it can go. Oh, hello, cat. It can go either way. Some people really like the way he runs his teams, and some players don't. So it has been a thing for a while now that some players just do not want to play under Lou Lamoriello.
I've been under the impression that, and I've said that before. I said modern day athletes don't want to be told that, you have to have a certain haircut, or you're not allowed to grow a mustache or a beard, or you're going to have to do this and you're going to have to do that. Anytime and it's always younger players. Anytime a younger player does not toe the company line, they are blackballed. And I'm going to tell you what, that shit gets around the league. It absolutely does.
No, it does. I mean, this guy, I trust what he says. And if he says it, then this has been a thing for a while now.
I'm not surprised at all.
So, I straight up asked him, what reputation does Lou have? Like, do players want to play for him? Do they not? And he said, some players are very against it. Some players don't mind, but this might be why you're missing out, because it is a league-wide reputation.
Yes.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, where it's what is the actual impact that Lou has? Probably, I'd assume somewhat of a negative impact on some players, but there are certain players that I'm sure love his, from yesteryear. I'm sure that your
exactly.
Right.
So that's sort of where we're in an odd sort of limbo. The older players the types of players Lou likes are the ones who like him back. When you're talking about younger players who you sort of want to entice, this might not necessarily be sort of the organizational ideology they're looking for.
To me, it's that Lamoriello, if you're an older player who's just about done, you can have a job with the Islanders because he's going to overpay you for what you're worth and give you too much term and too much money because that's what he does.
I mean, so Varlamov is I think he's a great guy. I think he's a good a great backup goalie. Like some teams would love to have him as their starter. But do you need 4 years at that price? No.
Yes. Like when you're 35 years old, you're going to play maybe 25, maybe 25 games. He's a freaking backup.
I mean, I get loyalty and I get like how Lou views it, but at some point, like the good of the team has to overrule individual loyalty to players. And there can be a good balance, but I feel like right now it's not balanced.
When was the last time Lou Lamoriello won a Stanley Cup?
Before the cap era, yeah.
Of course. 2003 was that the last time the Devils that he won a cup?
Yeah.
20 years.
Think about that. His time is done. He's absolutely done. He's a dinosaur in that league.
I've noticed like every year as I get older and as I sort of become more knowledgeable about hockey and the inner workings, I sort of get a little more and more disillusioned.
He's the thing. He served his purpose by righting the ship, bringing in Barry Trotz. And they absolutely
bringing respectability back to the organization.
That's right, respectability. They steadied the ship, and then you know what? But at some point in time, it's like, okay, you have served your purpose. Now it's time to move on to something else. It's not like
I've always said like he can stay as president.
I don't even want him to be
great president. Why not? Like if you're talking about purely like the business side of things,
I don't want his influence.
There, but
I don't want his influence on the team anymore.
But I know like Kyle Dubas, he has like a very some people love him, some people hate him, but that trade he was just able to pull off. Carlson for what? Nothing.
For nothing.
I mean, do I need an exact copy of him? No, but maybe some like young blood with sort of like different ideals would be the breath of fresh air this organization needs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the one thing I think that Grumpy was mentioning too that I worry about, if he was in charge of hockey ops, I'm not sure unless somebody was strong enough to say, sit your ass, this is your lane, you're not allowed to give any input or try to sway anything else. This is what you do. Anything else I don't want to hear your opinion on. He's going to start bleeding over into other aspects of the team. And
I do agree. I think right now our owners are very content to just sort of sit back. We trust in Lou, but I'd like to see them sort of, use their power a little more too.
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
And, like Ledecky, like great guy, like such a great face for the team. But I mean, like we want to see like some a little something in the back rooms too.
I hate when people say in Louis trust because he hasn't won a hockey trade, not since he's been with the Islanders. That's for certain. And they were smart in Toronto. They saw what he was like. They kicked his butt upstairs. I mean, Shanahan said, nope, we don't like what you're doing. And they gave it to Dubas. And that's, honestly, like I said before, he served his purpose. Time to move on. We should have already brought in a young, at least a young assistant GM.
My concern right now is that Lou moves on. Guess who's going to get that role?
Not Fredo. It won't be.
We've talked about that for years. Fredo.
I mean, that's the reality as far as we're looking at right now. And
if Fredo becomes general manager, you might as well just take a shovel to the organization. He won't last. He won't last. He won't get the rope that the old man's got. That much I can tell you. You realize he's never even had a job that his dad didn't get when he was a paper boy.
He won't get as like long of a leash, but any leash is too long right now. Our window realistically isn't long enough for us to keep, doing trial and error and nepo babies as GMs.
Now, I want to talk about the window, Grumpy. Now, a friend of ours, an old Grumpy, a guest of the show. Grumpy. I don't know if you noticed. Do you know who this is in this video right here, Grumpy?
Yes, I do.
Who is this, Grumpy? Tell us for the listeners.
It's the
For the people
gambler.
who want,
It's the gambler.
who's the who's the gambler, Grumpy?
Andy Francis, the gambler.
It's Andy Francis. Now I want you to listen to this, Grumpy. Andy has maybe some encouraging words. He's in a DeLorean. Maybe he went forward. You can go back. You can go forward, right? In that thing.
He probably went to Universal Studios and they let him sit in a car for $50.
No. What I'm asking here is this. Now, Andy will be on the show next week, Grumpy. So watch what you say. Anyway,
Another guest, Andy Francis.
yeah,
Jeez.
Andy will
At
be
least
on.
we got Nicole this week, I guess.
Wow, what a compliment.
Can they go?
Well, you're better than Andy Francis. Come on.
Now you can go forward.
Last time we talked to Andy Francis, he told us that there were 8 guys on the Islanders who are going to score 20 goals. I'm like, absolutely not.
I could now when you Back to the Future, they go forward in time, right? Or they go back.
They can go back,
They
forward.
go back. In the second one, wait,
too.
in one they go forward, in one, yeah.
Okay, so on this one, okay, Andy goes forward in time. I just wanted to make sure the DeLorean could do this. I haven't watched this show in a long time, but he does have some encouraging words.
You've never seen the show. You've never seen Back to the Future.
I've seen Back to the Future.
What's the name of the character? What's the name of the main character on Back to the Future?
Marty
what?
McFly. Sit the fuck down, Grumpy. Don't you try to challenge me on my movie knowledge, Grumpy.
And how the hell did you know that you couldn't go forward and back? How did you not know that?
Back.
If you watched any of the movies, you should have realized you can go forward and back. If you watched
Grumpy,
the first movie, they go forward and back. And you didn't know that because you've never seen the movie.
I've seen the movie, Marty McFly, Doc. They go 8.1 gigawatts. I've watched the
It's
movie,
1.21 gigawatts. 8.1 gigawatts.
Gigawatts.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
Like I said, you've never seen the movie.
Okay, let's see.
What's the girlfriend's name?
Oh,
You
shit.
missed that one too.
Okay, what is this, 20 fucking Q? I got the question right.
You don't know. You didn't. If you got to say 8.1 gigawatts, that means you don't know the movie. Okay? Failure. Don't ever try to talk about movies in front of me because you will lose.
Oh, just fucking stop. Okay, Grump, please stop. Okay, here it is. Let's listen.
Islander fans, I don't have the best news to report. I just took this thing to June. You're probably not surprised, but the New York Islanders didn't win the Stanley Cup. At least the Rangers didn't win it either. That's actually not the bad. The bad news is I went to 2025, and they didn't win that one either. So I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but that's what happened. All right? Good luck.
Grumpy, so it's pretty much been guaranteed now by Andy, who has gone Back to the Future, now that we Islanders are not winning the Stanley Cup this year or next year.
I could have told you that. I've been telling you that for years. We're at least, honestly, we're at least 10 years away from a Stanley Cup. Well, it's funny because, we're not going to do it today. We'll do it Saturday, but I'm going to talk about the pillars of the Islanders organization. Who are they now? Just look at the contracts.
Barzal, Sorokin, Horvat.
Yep.
Mayfield.
Pellick. Yeah.
Engvall. Pellick. Pulak. Barzal. I mean, those are is there a star among the bunch?
Sorokin.
There's not.
Yes. Our goalie.
Oh, Sorokin, yes.
Like,
But here's the thing. He might as well be Roberto Luongo playing for Florida. That's what it's like.
No, we're not that bad. Come on.
The old man has locked up a bunch of guys, not a star among them. Can you tell me realistically how many of those players deserved 7 and 8 year extensions? Realistically, maybe 2 players out of the whole bunch. 2. Barzal, Sorokin. Certainly not Pulak and Pellick. You don't lock up the steady Eddie defenseman for 8-year deals. You don't do it.
I mean, to be fair, it was like a great deal, and I barely saw anyone like saying otherwise when it was signed. Okay,
how you doing?
99% of people thought it was a great deal.
The best year they had was 19 and 20. That was the best year they had. And you've seen them incrementally.
I thought when the deal was signed, it was a great deal. I will say, I thought, and again, last year they didn't play well. I don't think they played great.
They didn't the year before either.
We tried to play. Okay, I will say this. They were coming off of 2 years that we had played shortened seasons due to COVID, and we had played the Trotz system. I think the Trotz system are where they excel. It's tough to play the Trotz system 82 games. And the first year after they signed that contract, we played 82 games under the Trotz system. It's like, okay, didn't look great. Then we started off this last year saying we're going to try to play a modern NHL style. And it was like, oof, that didn't look good. And at the end of the year, things started to look a little better for them when we started playing back the Trotz's style. But yeah, these are guys who look great in a very structured defensive system. And I just, maybe they're products of a system, I think.
You can get any ham and egger to look good in a structured defensive system. Any ham and egger off the freaking street. I could knock on a door down the street and I could find somebody who could play in a structured system.
Can I knock on
talent? It's the lack of talent. That's why we don't win. We have no one who stands apart. One guy on the whole team has the ability to stand apart. And I'm not talking goalie. I'm talking about positional players. Matt Barzell.
If I'm knocking on your door, grumpy old man, who out of you or the warden is going to be able to play that defensive
me.
You're going to be able to, huh, Grumpy?
I skate better than Anders Lee does right now. Right this second, I'm a better skater than him.
You're full of shit.
That totem pole, captain below average. He's horrible. You got rid of one. You got rid of Bailey. I've been saying you should have jettisoned Bailey 3 years ago. 3 years ago. When he still had some value after that first year, that first playoff run. It was the best he ever looked. I'm like, now is when you move a piece of shit like Bailey. Because I seen him for what he's been, a loser his whole career. And then what happens? We can't move him. We can't do anything to move. Everyone, you hear this. We can't. No one can move him. Other teams were able to move guys and give up virtually nothing to move guys. We got to give up who knows how many draft picks to move pieces of trash off our roster. The whole thing is, yes, those guys look better in a structured system. Every team does initially. But you know what? You don't win. You don't win Stanley Cups playing like that. Eventually, you need someone to put the puck in the net. And we don't have any of those guys.
Now, another topic I wanted to talk about. There have been a lot of people releasing who are the top defensemen, who are the top wingers. And you'll notice that there's a reoccurring trend that
the Islanders in the bunch.
Well, now, Grumpy, do you remember the hockey guy who has all those little hockey shirts, and people like him? People on the show always point out he does a lot of good content when he talks about the Islanders. Sometimes we pull his stuff up. Do you remember him, Grumpy? The hockey guy or that hockey guy?
I do not know him or remember him or care to know him.
Well, now, when you start to see the list here, you'll start to see he started to list out. This was from this was before, obviously, the Erik Karlsson trade. So I think this was last week or before last week. They started putting, hey, who are the top defensemen in the NHL? You see some familiar names, Dougie Hamilton, your Ekblad, your Jacob Slavins, Hampus Lindholm. You see some familiar names. Now, Grumpy, do you think the Islanders have anybody on this list? And who do you think would be on this list from the Islanders?
No one. There are no defensemen. All right, Adam Pelech maybe was on the list a couple of years ago, but it looks like he's lost a step and a half. Noah Dobson. Oh, there you go.
And Ryan Pulock, number 30.
Okay, I'm going to tell you one thing. This guy has no credibility with me if Owen Power is ahead of Alex Pietrangelo and Noah Dobson, and even Ryan Pulock. Owen Power looked like the worst defenseman I've ever seen last year.
I was about to ask you, does that discredit the entire thing? Owen Power being number 27. Now, I did get a chuckle that Noah Dobson, we always say, probably the best overall defenseman we have.
He is the best overall defenseman on the Islanders team. He's the only puck mover on the whole team from the back end.
That's true.
But Owen Power was a disaster. Now, do I expect him to get better? Absolutely. But he's just not there yet. You see why they signed 2 defensive defensemen, older guys. Eric Johnson, one of them, right? Would it shock you if Eric Johnson was a partner with Owen Power? It wouldn't shock me at all.
No, to help learn.
He'll be like Zdeno Chara was to Noah Dobson. That's what you're going to see with Eric Johnson. That's what you're going to see.
And that was the one there on the list. I thought you get a kick out of specifically Grumpy. Now on the top wingers, now this was done by NHL Network. They rated the top 20 wingers. Now I'm not sure if they made the mistake and forgot.
There's no way an Islander made that list. No way.
Okay, that is correct, Grumpy. There was no Islanders on this list. That's right. People laugh.
Patrick Kane was sort of ridiculous, though. Yeah.
Okay, now does Stamkos play wing now? Have I fallen asleep and forgotten that he's a winger and no longer a center?
I thought he's still center, but
I did too. Now people are being critical that they're putting Stamkos, I believe, on that list also, and that they put Patty Kane on that spot. But I consider Matt Barzal maybe between 20 and 25.
Okay, if Matt Barzal is going to play wing this year, he should be on that list. I think he's a top 20. I think he's a top 20 winger in the league. Certainly above Patrick Kane, who's not even in the league right now.
Well, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is a guy I think who's on that list solely because of the team that he plays with. And
that's low for Gensel. Honestly, that's low for Gensel. Who's the top 10?
Yeah.
I'll bite.
I don't have too many complaints with the top 10.
No. Now, here's the thing. Matt Tkachuk is up there after the playoff run.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was shocked he was, for what he did. Now, that's a guy where I thought what he did was absolutely fantastic there, Matthew Tkachuk. And that's a guy where I'm like, he's a top-end talent.
He's a team changer. I feel like even when the Panthers were at their worst and no one thought they would make the playoffs, his play sort of I don't know, the way, the mix of offense and sort of had pests. He sort of elevated them to that Stanley Cup final.
Everyone was saying how Florida got fleeced on that trade. This guy.
I remember.
This guy. He's a culture changer. That's what they needed down in Florida. Is Florida a great team? I don't think they're a great team. He's a great hockey player, though. I would love to get him on the Islanders. There's some guy that you hate to play against, but love to play with them. Oh, yeah. He's one of those guys.
Him, Marchand, even Tom Wilson. If you're talking pure power forwards.
People hate Tom Wilson. If he was on the Islanders,
he would be fan favorite. Are you kidding me?
I call him the laundry fans, the laundry ladies, because whatever laundry a guy's wearing, that's if they come to the Islanders, they're the greatest thing ever. As soon as they leave, they have always sucked. That player wasn't that important to us. If I say a guy sucks on the Islanders, he's going to suck somewhere else too. And if a guy's good on another team and he comes here, he's going to be good too.
You might be like the opposite of the laundry ladies, Grumpy, whatever that would be, the inverse, because
I'm just a realist.
Yeah. Well, there's some Islander players like Brock Nelson you were extremely critical of that you were very wrong.
Brock Nelson.
Very wrong.
Okay. I'd move Brock Nelson right now and get as much as I could for him.
Well, they're not going to. They think they.
Okay, you're right. I didn't say they're going to. I said they should, because this team is never winning a Stanley Cup. We're not even going to make playoffs next year. As soon as Carlson moved to Pittsburgh, that was the end of our playoff hopes. No shot at the playoffs.
I was about to ask you, if we at this year's trade deadline,
Carlson will score more points than anybody on the Islanders next year.
That's pretty strong. That's pretty strong words.
He had 105 points last year.
He's not going to put up 105 points now, Grumpy.
He might put up 120 playing for that team.
He's going to be playing more of a system. They're going to ask him to play more defense. Come on.
Really? Has anyone ever asked him to play defense his whole career? The guy's an electric offensive talent. You come back with Crosby and Malkin on the power play, he might have 50 power play points next year.
It's an old team, and I know we're speaking from we're throwing rocks from a glass house, right? But can they really? They're not Crosby, of course, he's still good, but they're not the Crosby and Malkin,
Nope. But guess what? They only missed the playoffs by a point last year.
Thank you, Chicago.
No, not thank you, Chicago.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tristan Jarry.
Thank you, Tristan Jarry.
Oh no, who was someone sent? Who was the goalie for the Blackhawks? Someone sent him an Islanders jersey with his name.
Mrazek. I think it was Mrazek.
Was it Mrazek? Yeah,
maybe. Who cares?
I thought
Doesn't matter. It was the The fact that Pittsburgh they just fell apart down the stretch, and I firmly believe it was because of the fight with the general manager and the coach and the players. I think that's when the wheels came off in Pittsburgh. They were a shoo-in to make the playoffs, a shoo-in. Then all that stuff that went around at the deadline, where Hextall was going at it with Sullivan, they were getting Crosby involved, or he had to get involved with players. I mean, it's like, no.
Your job is to put the puck in the net and to play hockey, not have to worry about anything else.
When it's dysfunctional like that up top, it filters down to the players. That was the only
fish
thing
rots from the head.
The only bad move that Dubas made all off season was re-signing Tristan Jarry, because I just think he sucks.
No, I don't understand that. I think even like Pittsburgh fans understand that he's not the goalie they need.
No.
Yeah. And it's funny, they were always, ever since Marc-Andre Fleury left, they're always, the backup was the new favorite guy. Your Matt Murray's, your Tristan Jarry. The list goes on and on. It just seems like they went through a consortment of different backup goalies.
I mean, I'm going to go further than that. Fleury isn't as, I think he's a great guy, probably one of the best guys in the league, but he was never as good a goalie as, looking back, people make you believe.
Really?
No, but all those amazing saves, they were because he was out of position.
Yeah, he was positioning. He was not great handling the puck either. But it's like, that's a guy he'll be a first ballot Hall of Fame goalie.
He was better than Matt Murray, and he was better than Tristan Jarry. That's the thing in Pittsburgh. The backup is the greatest guy in town.
Yeah.
Who's their current backup? Do they have a backup?
Nedeljkovic!
Oh yeah. From what, Calder contender to, I mean, look at that.
I've been so high on him. He played so great for Carolina years ago, and he's just disappeared.
Okay, Carolina knows what they're doing. Carolina knows.
Oh, I remember how crazy everyone reacted after that trade.
I was too. I was like,
hey, your little friend right over here. Oh my God, how could they move Nedeljkovic?
I was like, for next to nothing. I was like, holy shit.
Every time. Here's the thing. I'm done questioning what Carolina does, because every time they make a move,
it works out somehow.
Every time. You know what? They know their organization.
Yeah.
They absolutely know that. Don Waddell, I think, is still the GM there.
Mm-hmm.
They just know what they're doing there. Like I said, I would love for him to be, well, not this Islander team, but I mean, I almost wish that we were Carolina, because I feel confident that we were going to win a Stanley Cup at some point in time. Okay,
say realistically, if you want to win with this team, what changes can you realistically make? Say the Islanders come up to you tomorrow, they say, we're hiring you. Realistically do what you can with the team. What do you do to win?
Can I take the DeLorean back to the trade deadline?
No, with the team you have now.
I'm blowing it up. I'm blowing.
No. She said the one stipulation is you have to compete for a cup.
You got to tear it down to build it back up.
No. She's saying the one stipulation of you getting the job is you have to compete for a cup, and if you don't,
exactly. So realistically,
put you under the grade.
Could any GM that comes in satisfy that with the team we have right now, the roster as it is?
No.
Like, say you can make any changes you want, any trades, any signings. No. I know, and like, it's pessimistic, and I try to be optimistic, but realistically, like, the best hope is to rebuild. And as much as like I'm optimistic that our prospects will like become NHLers, they're not going to be stars.
They're not. I mean, it's just. But here's the thing: Lamoriello keeps on doing the same dumb stuff year after year after year. 2 years ago, I'm like, okay, this is the offseason. Don't sign anybody back. Don't do anything dumb. You can reset the whole franchise. And what does he do? He signs a couple of ham and eggers. And here's the thing. Everyone knows that I'm a honk for Scott Mayfield. That's a ridiculous contract for Scott Mayfield.
I completely agree.
All right. He's going to be 37 years old. Pierre Engvall. Did you need to give 7 years to Pierre Engvall? If he wanted more money than $3 million a year, see you later. You know, you're allowed to say goodbye to players and move young guys up. You're allowed to do that. He doesn't do it. I mean, the F-. Did you need to give Kyle Palmieri a 4-year, $5 million for a third-line winger? No. Did you need to sign J.G. Pajot, another guy who I'm a big fan of, a 5-year extension at $5 million per for a guy who's a third-line center? Did you need to give Casey Zizekas a 6-year contract extension at the age of 30? No more. And again, the Varlamov contract is the worst of all. 4 years to a guy who's 35 years. 4 years. $2.75 million for a guy who's going to play maybe 100 games over the course of that.
No.
Here's the thing. If I'm going to guarantee you the money. You look at the way the offseason went this year, everyone signing guys to 1-year deals, 2-year deals. That's it. Even the biggest names, Blake Wheeler, great signing for the Rangers. Absolutely spectacular signing for $800,000 for Blake Wheeler. What? Why would the Islanders not? Well, he wouldn't come here. That's what I hear from Islanders fans. Oh, well, no one will come here. We have to trade for players. Well, then you need to change. You need to change that perception around the league. Whatever you have to do, you need to change that.
Allow people to start growing mustaches and beards, maybe.
You just need, but no, seriously, you need to change, right? How many years did we hear? Well, they won't go to the Islanders because of the Nassau Coliseum, or they won't do it. You know what? That's because Islander fans are freaking losers, honestly. They have that loser mentality because the team has sucked for so long that just qualifying for the playoffs is now a victory. It's not a victory. It's not. You're on the hamster wheel to mediocrity. That's just the way it is. And if you want to get better, you must change your perception to the players around the league. I don't care if the league office thinks you're great and they want to give Lou Lamoriello the GM of the Year award every year. I could care less. You need to win. You need to be entertaining on the ice.
No,
Varlamov.
I think it's true.
Tell me you couldn't have traded those two guys at the deadline, and Zach Parise as well. Trade those guys at the deadline, load up on aspects in the deepest draft in 15 years, and then bring those guys back because those ridiculous contracts, no one was signing those guys to those ridiculous contracts. So you could assign them to those pathetic deals still and then got all the assets in a trade. Not
That's
everybody.
Part of the loyalty that holds us back because of Lou.
Right, exactly. And here's the thing. Not everybody who trades for somebody re-signs them. They're like, okay, was Patrick Kane re-signed? Was Vladimir Tarasenko re-signed by the Rangers? No. They just took flyers on those guys and they let them go. You don't need to re-sign everybody that you trade for.
So, and I think it's like 2 years in a row where at the trade deadline, Lou's been like, oh, like if the players tell me they want to go, like I'll trade them, but otherwise, like we're just chilling. And I'm like, it's not up to the players.
It's a freaking business. This is a business. It's not a country club. It's not the beer league. It's not the cul-de-sac crew. Everyone getting out there, playing around in the cul-de-sac, playing street hockey. That's not what it is. This is an NHL team.
I've got to have your time out there, Grumpy. I know you're on a freaking streak and a roll, but we've got to get to our ad read before we start jumping into some comments. Today's podcast is brought to you by DraftKings and Raycon. New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code THPN and bet just $5 and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. Again, that's promo code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY, aka HOPENY, or text HOPE-NY. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. In West Virginia, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. All games are regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly in partnership with the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. In Connecticut, help is available if you have a gambling problem at 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. You must be 21 years or older in eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance and one bonus per eligible game. Opt-in is required. Max bet of $50, so you can have 10-plus legs for a 100% boost. Eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions apply. Go to terms. See the terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/baseball terms. And we also have an ad today to read, Grumpy, from Raycon, your favorite set of headphones, Grumpy. We know how much you love headphones. This is brought to you by Raycon.
Are those Raycon headphones you're wearing right now?
Yes, of course they are, Grumpy. These are my fantastic Raycon headphones. No, they're not. Even if you're not going on vacation, summer is all about a vacation mindset. Whatever you listen to, whether it's hip hop, whether it's country, whether it's podcasts, whatever you listen to on repeat, or if you just need to retreat. I'm sorry, inside your own head for a bit. I love creating my own summer soundtrack by popping in my Raycon wireless earbuds. There's so much going on all summer long, and sometimes you just need an upbeat music to pump you up before you see people, or even to stay calm with some guided meditation. So, Grumpy, when you're at the gym, you can get pumped up, you can get that big set, and you can hit your PR. You can relax, you can put the podcast on, you can do whatever you need to, Grumpy. And let me tell you right now, Raycon is the best way to listen to those type of items. Use the earbud tap functionality to toggle between 3 customizable sound profile, noise isolation, and awareness mode. Raycons have 32 hours of battery life, including 8 hours of playtime. So you can listen to what you want, when you want, and for a really long time. They come with custom gel tips for the most comfortable in-ear fit. They start at half the price of other premium audio brands, but they sound just as good. And Raycons come with a 30-day happiness guarantee, so you really can't lose. Create your own soundtrack with Raycon. Right now, Islanders Never Say Die listeners, you can get 15% off your Raycon order if you go to buyraycon.com/THPN. Again, that's buyraycon.com/THPN to save 15% on Raycon. That's buyraycon.com/THPN. Oh, man, Grumpy. Woo, we got it all done.
A lot of reading for you, TJ. It's about 6 months worth, isn't it?
Oh, man, that's like my entire life's worth of reading right there. It's like an entire summer reading book, Grumpy, worth of reading right there. I hated to cut you off, Grumpy, because you were getting on a roll there. You're getting all animated, Grumpy. I try not to cut you off when you get animated, but I had to get that ad read in. Now, Grumpy, so I want to get Nicole's thought before we start reading some of these comments. Nicole, I want to ask you what your feelings are about this. You talk about how the Islanders are trying for one last push there before the window closes. What are your thoughts about this upcoming year? Are you feeling optimistic? Are you feeling pessimistic? I want to hear kind of what your mindset is right now.
I'm neither. I'm sort of numb. I'm like, at this point, whatever happens. I don't really go into a season with expectations anymore.
Oh, God. Damn.
Okay.
Think about that as a fan. We're no expectations anymore for this team.
Think about that. Think about it.
It's such a change from 2020, 2021. Yes. It's kind of sad. I mean, I know there's players I'm looking forward to seeing, but to say right now that, I think the team will miss the playoffs, or I think they'll make the playoffs. I can't make that prediction. And yeah, it's not exactly a glowing review about where the team stands.
As an organization, do you want your fan base saying, well, I really don't have any expectations for the team? That's like, if any product, you're trying to sell a product. Hey, we're trying to sell cars. What do you think about that car? I really don't have any expectations for that car. I mean, that's not what people want to hear. They want people to be excited and fired up. That's what they want. And here's the thing, though. You're not the only one, Nicole. You're not. Now, like I said, we tend to be, at least I tend to be a little bit more realistic. TJ used to be a little Pollyanna fan, but he's seen over the last years how it was going. But I think a lot more fans are coming around to it's just not happening. Where the curve, that's me, has been telling you for years, not good enough. We needed to make changes after that first loss to Tampa. We needed to make a couple of changes, get some scoring wingers, chose not to do anything. And then Tampa made moves. We were never beating Tampa, okay? But you certainly weren't going to beat them if you didn't improve the product on the ice. And, hey, we still believe in this core. The core's never won anything. Never won anything. Sorry. I'm going to get to some comments since TJ's away, and I'll probably get all of them done before he comes back. And anyone who's saying hello, we're just going to say hello back. I'm going to skip some of those. Here's one. Nick D says, TJ, explain to the class why you're late. Why you think the world revolves around you? That is a valid question. Maybe he'll touch on the way back. Maybe he won't. JP says, I find myself asking, as of today, if I had a choice between Lou Lamoriello, as he is right now, and training a monkey to be the GM and a good steward of the Islanders, I wouldn't want to be a monkey. Okay. I don't know. JP kind of fell off the track. He kind of fell off the track with the last.
That monkey's about to be taken hostage and forced to be general manager of the Islanders, is what that means, Grumpy.
Hey, man, that means Fredo is getting the job.
Let me ask you this. You just went ahead and took a direct U-turn right to the comments. I've got to ask you, Grumpy. I wanted to keep talking. I had a few, God forbid, Grumpy, we talk a little bit about the expectations we have because we were talking about them.
Nicole's given up on the organization.
No, she hasn't given up.
We know how I feel. We're not making playoffs.
Well, I'm not even in New York, so let's see how many games I make it to this year.
I wanted to ask Nicole because there's a big narrative that's being pushed around. This team is different than the Islanders. This is a different Islanders team. This is not running back the same team we had at the end of the year. People like to say that, oh, this is the best roster. I feel like this is
That's only that freaking goof, Phil.
There are more people online who are saying this, and you would believe, Grumpy, that this is not the same team.
It is exactly
the same. It's quite literally the same team. Yeah. Nothing changed.
Parise's out. Oliver Wahlstrom's in. That's the only change.
And I put a question mark next to Wahlstrom right now.
Maybe it'll be somebody else. Some other hack.
Really?
I mean, like, obviously you can't, he's not bad and you can't really say anything with the injury, but I think unless like we see him perform at a higher level, and we know he has the potential, unless we see that, I think we can also see another revolving door sort of happen in his spot.
He's our next sell low candidate. We're going to move a first-round pick at the deadline and Oliver Wahlstrom for piece of shit X. That's all that's going to happen.
We should start like a betting pool. What player are we moving our next first-round pick for on draft day? Let's go.
Okay.
We won't. I guarantee we won't have a first-round pick next year. It's funny. Yes. TJ brought something up that Lamoriello in his 5 years has traded away 4 first-round draft picks. The rest of the Islanders' history, almost 45 years, only 3 years.
There's only been 3 years we have not had a first-round pick. We have had under Lamoriello 4 out of the if you want to count
5, because Simon Holmstrom was a first-round draft pick. That's not one either.
Hold on. If we want to count the draft where he was a general manager for 4 or 5 days, that one
doesn't count.
I always like to mention it. If you want to count that, sure, you can count it. But if you don't want to count the one where he just kind of walked into a situation and he said, do what you're going to do, he has traded away our first-round pick 4 of the 5 years he's been general manager. The entire team's history, we have not had a first-round pick 3 out of the prior 40-something years in Islanders history. So what it looks like right now is we're going to be 5 out of our last 6 years where Lamoriello has not had a first-round pick. That's, again, 3 times or twice, as much as what we've had in our prior 40-year history.
I mean, I'm going to tell you what.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what, when the only first-round pick is that Appalachian Mountains banjo-playing bastard is the only guy, you've never had a first-round pick.
Yeah, it sucks from like a prospect blogger perspective. It sucks from like a fan who like is looking forward to a rebuild eventually because we have
prospects don't mean anything.
No, I'm going to say like in the rankings where you like right now we're at 32 across the board always, and I don't think that's fair because a lot of like other organizations have high risk prospects who might turn out and high reward, but they also might not show anything at all. But I think we have sort of low risk, mid reward prospects who are going to be like steady, decent NHLers, but they're not going to change a team. They're not going to wow you. So, but that's a problem if you're looking to rebuild.
Let me get my wheel out.
I had a hamster. He died.
I mean, he probably rooted for the Islanders. He ran himself to death.
Grumpy, he was actually named, the hamster was named the Grumpy Old Man. And we got to see him every single day running on that treadmill of mediocrity. Could have been called Lou Lamoriello too. Would have been the same thing.
Oh.
Sticking all the Islanders on the treadmill of mediocrity.
I mean, the whole thing is you listen to some of the goofs of the fan base who say, well, prospects don't mean anything. No, they do mean something. Your team, you're never getting entry-level contracts, players on entry-level contracts, so you can go out and sign a big-name player. All you're doing is signing trash.
So those years when we made the ECF, it was because of homegrown players.
Yep.
You don't have those. You don't have Matt Barzal in the organization right now. Like, I can't even say you have a Brock Nelson in the organization.
Uh-uh.
So that's a problem. And Aatu Raty was probably going to be our Brock Nelson. But right now we have Ishakov, who I'm high on, but the organization doesn't seem to be. So realistically, you're saying, okay, we're not rebuilding now, but you don't have the components to really push for the cup either. So you're sort of stuck in this kind of really depressing purgatory, of mediocrity.
That's it.
Grumpy. I love when he's moving so quick that his computer starts to freeze up with his connection.
I still got the quicks, man. Still got the speed.
That's what it is. Nick D says, TJ Grumpy, how are you guys doing tonight? 5-star podcast. Reminder, fire Lou Lamoriello immediately. Gungun says, Nicole, at what point in the playoffs did you realize the Islanders were in deep doo-doo?
Game 1.
I was going to say as soon as they drew Carolina. Never beaten Carolina.
I mean, if you're playing against that Florida team, would you beat Florida either? You don't, probably not.
No.
Right? Yeah.
We don't beat Florida, another team, same style. Devils, same style. Aggressive on the forecheck, team speed.
Young and fast.
Yep.
Like that's sort of
depth.
the opposite of this team.
What's the antithesis of the Islanders?
We should all change our profile picture to a picture of TJ. John Smith said, TJ, English user extraordinaire.
Wow.
With the way I fucked up the intro. And then, Nicole, you'll be very disappointed to learn that TJ has now stopped listening to music entirely in his car radio. So in essence, he is now
100% music free. Let's just say that.
Yes, I am music free.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
No need for it.
What do you listen to?
I don't.
That's that's sociopathic behavior.
Thank you.
I listen to music at the gym, but it's no words.
This is what he does. I'm going to tell you what he does. He'll call me up and he'll start cursing at all the drivers and how they drive.
That that's a very New York thing to do, but no music concerns me.
No music.
As someone who got an A+ in Psychology 101, I feel qualified to make that diagnosis.
Usually serial killers do shit like
exactly.
that.
No, when you're alone in the car, that's like your time to sing really badly.
And for me, it's just time to sit in silence.
I was dancing for the warden today, showing her some dance. She was just blown away.
Yeah,
she's like TJ, somebody from the NFL, the No Fun League, And I mean, I just overwhelmed her with my moves, my grooves.
Oh God, yeah, that's it. John Smith wants to know who leads the team in goals this season. Who do we think is going to lead the team in goals? Is it Bo Horvat, right? We're thinking, or is it Brock?
I was going to say Brock, but if we get a full season of Barzy and Bo, who knows? Hard to say.
It has to be Brock Nell. It has to be Bo Horvat. If it's not Bo Horvat, that trade's a bad trade.
I'm hoping it's Bo Horvat for our sake, for the team's sake.
Yeah, right. For the contract not to age horribly.
I'm serious. You brought him in to be a goal scorer. If he doesn't even lead your team 8 years, $8.5 million, that was another thing. Bo Horvat. Love Bo Horvat. Love him. It bothered me that he immediately signed that contract extension. You know what it tells me? He's just about the money. Doesn't give two shits about winning. And I don't know him. But you go all that way. If Vancouver would have offered him that deal, he would have signed it in a second.
No, you know what? I don't think it's the money. I think he has he has 2 young kids. I think Long Island's just a great place to raise a family.
If Vancouver would have offered him that deal, he would have stayed there.
Yes,
Absolutely. He wanted to stay in Vancouver. They offered, and I remember the general manager said, we're giving him based on what he's done in the past, not from what he's doing this year. That's what he came out and said that in the press. So that's why he knew they were leaving, because he expected more than that. Trade him, the old man, 8 years, $8.5 million. I was stunned at that contract.
But this is like what I will never be mad at a player for taking as much money as they can.
I'm not.
No. I will never. I'm like their careers are short as is. They can be cut shorter like at any given game. So I'm never. I blame the GMs.
I'm just saying that you got that close to free agency, and because he's been looking for that contract extension for years in Vancouver, and you get that close to free agency, and you're like, nope, I'm just going to take. It's not like he said, "Hey, New York is great." He was there 2 days, and he signed. He had no idea if he was going to like the area.
He fell in love with it.
He pissed off the entire Canucks fan base with that interview.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Just keep your mouth shut. Better to keep your mouth shut and let people think you're stupid than to open it and remove all doubt.
I mean, Islanders fans certainly liked him a little more after that.
Well, here's what I didn't like. When he comes out and he says, yeah, I didn't play well this year because, my family.
No, he was not making excuses, but it was tough to move from Vancouver to New York. Remember,
the family situation. I'm like, dude, who are you kidding? Your wife, your mom, her mom, somebody is moving everybody. You're not doing anything. Don't tell me how difficult it is.
No, like when it comes to family, like this isn't like something I'm ever going to be mad at a player for.
I'm sorry if he was trying to use it like it was in the Andrew Gross interview he had on the podcast, and they had said, "Hey,
he was making an excuse for being the half a point a game player he's always been in his career."
He said he wasn't.
He came to the Islanders.
I wouldn't say he was making an excuse, but it was tough. He said, "I'm not making excuses, but there were some tough items here moving," and he mentioned
as soon as somebody says, "I'm not making excuses," but guess what? Here comes the excuse train right down the track.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. There definitely was.
And I like that.
You know what? Here's my thing. If you remove Barzal from the team, do I think the contract is not only an overpayment but a huge overpayment? Yes, but if we end up like starting the season and we see like that their chemistry makes both of them better players, then is he alone worth the contract? No. Is what he like brings the team together with Barzal at that point worth it? Yes. You can't really like view it in a vacuum.
I think say you look at what he's done his entire career, averages, and then he has a career year and a contract year. And we talk about this all the time on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show about other athletes and other sports. Those are red flag contracts.
Yes. Could it work out? Sure, it can.
No,
it doesn't have the. I think there's
never
potential.
does.
There's potential for it to be bad contract 101. And
I completely agree, but I think it's still too early. On that, I'm holding out hope.
I still think it's too early. I said I'll give him this year. I thought at times
you didn't say that. You hate Bo Horvat. I'm the one who says
I think he won't pan out. I think in order for him to be successful, he's got to be. And the same thing with Matt Barzal. I'm a big Matt Barzal guy, but guess what? Contract's now $9+ million a year. You're playing with Bo Horvat. You're playing on the first line. You need to be around at least a point a game pace, if not more. And I expect the same thing for Bo Horvat. I expect them both to be at a point a game pace. That's my expectation for them this season.
Okay, you were calling him Bo Doormat on Saturday. Okay?
Yes, Bum Doormat. I like all the names. The names.
Matt Barzal absolutely gets a pass from me, even if he doesn't produce this year, because guess what? He's playing with a bunch of ham and eggers. He's so much better that you're going to shackle him with Anders Lee again on the first line. How's that going to work out? How many times we have to see that movie before we realize, man, it still ends shitty. There's no payoff at the end. You got some below average, no skater, no defense guy, totem pole, who stands in front of that. Now when he goes into the corners, he doesn't win any, and I mean any, battles for the puck along the boards. He sucks. They should strip him of the captainship.
I
Give
do.
it to Matt Barzell and just say, you know what? Be a team guy. You're a third liner. That's what you are, because that's where your skill set is right now as a third liner. And you better bust it skating up and down that ice, or you're on a train to Bridgeport.
Lou, the current Islanders organization, even if, say, hypothetically he's bumped down to the third line, would never remove the C. Never.
They won't, but they should. It's like,
That's
I think he's so unbelievably complacent, and I understand it. He's towards the tail end of his career. He's done a lot. He has talking about from what he was when he was drafted. He's accomplished a lot, but at this point, there's no new mountains he's trying to climb, and I understand that. But for a guy like that, you shouldn't have the C. We're trying to climb mountains of winning a fucking cup.
No, I agree. And like even when he was injured, and you just saw what he brought to that locker room, you don't really feel that fire from him anymore.
Yeah. I think it's done. I think for that portion, I said when he was originally named captain, I said he embodies what it is to be an Islander. I thought his value it was impossible to put a dollar amount on his value. That's how much he meant to the team regarding his playing style, regarding the way he acted on and off the ice. And now I'm like, okay, all things change, all things need to progress. He needs to be phased out.
Wait, so Matt Martin got older. Also, like, I don't know, got tamed. Like, didn't fight as much. You didn't really see that physicality we were used to so long from the identity line, you know?
As you get older, you get more settled.
It's right. I don't even think like it's a health thing. I don't think it has anything to do with nature. I think exactly. Unless you're a veteran, in which case you still you'll run people over.
Okay, the all-time greats in every sport are the ones that's how you tell an all-time great. When they get to a certain age, they still have that fire more than anybody else.
Messi right now, I mean, you see what he's doing in Miami, and it's like, wow.
Moment of silence.
Yeah. Why? Not Messi fans.
Right. He's playing in the Hamburg League.
Open a can of worms.
No,
we're Cristiano guys.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I think like right now that trend of like going to Saudi for money kind of
created it's the guy forges everything. The guy is
oh my god, I'm sorry, but Neymar also like I mean really like where do you want to like end your career?
Saudi League's going to be a top 5 league in the entire world within a 10-year time.
It'll be okay within.
No, but like if can you imagine the KHL coming out right now and like saying McKinnon will offer you $500 million if you come over here? Like, it's insane to me. Like, I cannot wrap my mind around that.
The NHL would be like, holy shit, we're losing all of our top tier players. And that's what Europe's about to start noticing too, where it's like,
that's what happened. That's what happened years and years ago in the WHL. When the WHL came, they were signing older players to big contracts, way more than they were given in the NHL. And it got so bad. And what now was the WHL as good as the NHL? It was not. But you want to know what? They had Gordie Howe. They had, Bobby Hull. They had Jerry Cheevers. They had so many guys who were leaving the NHL that they had to merge. That's what happens. And I'm not doing you mentioned about the Saudi League. I know we can talk about this tomorrow. But here's the thing. Within 3 years, that's going to be a top 5 league in the world. 3 years.
It goes even 3.
I said three. Because of that, the MLS is actually looking up because they can offer creative contracts like when Messi has that European leagues aren't able to offer.
I think it hurts the MLS a lot what the Saudi League's doing. I think it hurts them a lot.
Here's the thing. Messi went there. Would you rather go to the Sand League or to the Burger League? I mean, that's what it is.
Messi is a Spanish speaker living in Miami, living the life. So, I mean, good for him.
I think it hurts. I think it hurts them because anybody who maybe was towards the tail end, anybody who was towards a tail end that was considering going to the MLS says, I can roll the dice and make, because that's what the MLS was. It was a retirement league. You can say, if I really want to, I have an option available at the Saudi League. I'm going to make more money, which is the ideal portion of it. I think it's going to hurt them a lot.
I mean, not necessarily. If we're not talking at this point Messi caliber, right? But like, if you ask for a similar sort of like revenue sharing contract,
he's the only guy who's going to get that.
You don't know. Like even like say, from my jerseys, like I want a direct cut. I mean, You don't know.
They might
The
do.
only, they don't have that money.
Like
For
what Saudi's
jerseys,
doing
yes.
is what I think they offered like $500,000 for each positive like post Neymar like puts
Oh,
on
yeah,
Instagram.
they were offering them
No, that's insane. I mean, you're just talking about like unrealistic sums, but I think like it's still looking up. I mean, there's not going to be an equivalent in hockey just because it's not like as global, but
No.
it's interesting hypothetically.
Yeah.
Messi, Grumpier.
Okay. Here's the thing: the MLS sucks. The MLS is unwatchable. Honestly, it's unwatchable. Is it the Barcelona Alumni Association that plays in Miami now? Okay, they beat up on the MLS. It just tells you how terrible the MLS is because all those guys
in Europe, the best athletes go into soccer, football, right? But in America, the best athletes go into what? Football. Basketball, baseball, even hockey, which is like there's also like accessibility issues. But our best athletes just don't go into soccer.
That's why we don't win anything in soccer.
Yep. We're starting to see things change over, but
a little, I think like the younger generation is definitely sort of
no way, never gonna.
Yeah, why not? Give it a
Listen to me. Both of you are too young to understand. They said the same thing when Pele came here, and where the North American Soccer League was the biggest thing in those summers between 76 and 80. I mean, they were selling out stadiums all across the country, and then all those old players.
With social media and streaming, I think things are truly changing.
The team is better now than what? Okay, Florian. We're going down a rabbit hole talking.
Sorry, tomorrow. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
We could do that forever. Nixie said, TJ, do you think that? Oh, I'm sorry. Since you think that Horvat's a doormat, I'll make you a bet. If he scores over 30 goals, you need to buy Grumpy a Horvat jersey. And if he doesn't, I'll buy you a jersey of your choice.
There you go.
How about 35? 35, you got a deal. He's playing with Matt Barzal. Come on now. 35 goals. This should be an easy. It should be if he scores more than 35 goals, I'll buy Grumpy a jersey.
I'm interested to see if like Barzal ends up taking on that like role he usually does as playmaker, or maybe Horvat sort of moves more into that role and we see Barzal sort of feel freer in shooting.
I would love to see that. I mean, that's the best case scenario. Matt Barzal has a great shot too.
That's a great shot.
But, it annoys me, and I see this almost every game. He'll just go around and around like the outside of the ice, and I'm like, oh my god, just go in there. You have the skating ability to just go in there, like get close to the net and shoot. No, it's like he has a mental freeze.
But he does that because everyone just stands still. They just stand still. They need. That's what I mean. They need players who can blend with what he does. Johnny Gaudreau would have been perfect for this team 2 years ago.
Okay,
perfect.
Well, he didn't even want the Devil, so I don't think we can really blame
Luka. Well, I knew he was never coming here. Lamoriello says, we bid them up. Lying piece of crap.
No, it's true. You know, that's one thing I can confirm from my source. We had one of the best deals on the table.
But not the best. He turned down 11. He turned down 11.
Now, we go back to DeBrincat. We had the best money and the best term.
Wow, he just wasn't interested.
Yeah, he just said no. We had the best, and Ottawa preferred us because we would have had a better trade. No,
I don't think that's
wanted to go to Detroit.
Who could we? I mean, so what? Wallstrom. Wallstrom had to be gone.
I can't tell you who was there, but I can tell you that money-wise, term-wise, and deal-wise, the Senators preferred to deal with us.
So we were saying goodbye to Wallstrom. We were saying goodbye to maybe
first
round, and plus maybe who the hell knows what else? Maybe Bolduc. It would have been.
That's why I'm thinking. If anything, it would have maybe 2 first-round picks.
It would have been a vomit-inducing trade. Is what it would have been, and it would have been great.
So we'll just wait to the end of February to vomit on the next trade we make.
Now, this is one Drew said here. He sent us some predictions as to where he thinks the team's going to finish. It's like Puck Empire apparently said, hey, they think they're going to finish 23rd with no playoffs. Keep your receipts, everyone. Yeah. Now, I'll say this. I think I'm probably leaning toward. Now, the rumor is Washington is trying to get another top 6 forward before the season starts. A lot of teams around us are adding pieces, trying to be better during the offseason, and we just said, let's run back the same team that lost in 6 to Carolina. I'm worried a bit. As teams continue to make improvements and we do nothing, I get a little bit more worried each day.
Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if it's broke, conversely, you have to fix it. And since 2021, there hasn't been really any fixing.
See, that's good. Here's the thing. You know what? It's the Islanders are like a car, and Lou Lamoriello's driving the car, and they see that engine light come on every day, and it's like, just keep driving it. Just keep driving it. It's okay. You know what? The light eventually goes off after I drive it for 45 minutes. It goes off, and one day it just seizes up on the side of the road.
My worry now is, okay, we keep pushing sort of like the pattern has been for another 3-4 seasons, and then they decide to rebuild, and we have nothing to work with at that point.
Nothing.
It's going to be a 7+ year rebuild.
I know, and honestly, like, as much as you want to see the team try for the cup, are you not just like at a point as a fan saying, let's get it over with?
I'm going to be 40+ years old by the time they have a chance. Grumpy. Grumpy.
I'll be dead.
I was going to say, who knows what Grumpy will be at that time period.
Dead.
Grumpy will be glued to the chair doing shows 24/7 at that point by the rate that we're going. I'll work him to death. Goon says here, Nicole, TJ, and Grumpy, what should the NHL ban first, fighting or biting?
You know what? This is actually, like, I know it's a joke, but the Q just banned fighting.
Yep.
And I think it's going to have very real repercussions, not only on like the prospects, but on then pro hockey. If you because if you don't teach sort of younger players to fight, and because, like, honestly, you're talking about some of the juniors players coming up, their role is going to be in the bottom six as sort of stay-at-home physical players. So if they're not, and yeah, technically fighting isn't legal, but if they're not sort of educated on how to deal with dropping the gloves when it comes to that, I think it's just going to be worse off for everyone.
I think it's the wussification of the NHL.
Now, I do agree with you. We talked about that on the TJ and the Grumpy Man on last Thursday. And they're banning fighting in the queue. It's only going to be a matter of time before it makes it to the entire CHL across all juniors, and then it's now making its way to the NHL. It'll be a lost art. People don't do it, and then at that point, because there's so few fights, it's like it's going to be looked at barbaric that they can punch other people and beat them. It's going to be a long time period. I feel like this transition will happen.
You will lose fans.
Okay.
I don't think the NHL should not be the ice capades. It shouldn't.
I think that it definitely has. I agree with Nicole. It's got real world.
You turned it into women's hockey. No body checking either, right? You're not allowed to body check.
I think here's the thing. I think with NFL, they're going to make the physicality on all sports continues to fade over time because you see the health ramifications it has. I think the NHL will eventually one day, think about it. Anytime you lay a big body check, an immediate fight breaks out. It's only a matter of time before you don't lay any body checks. Where the NFL, you're going to start to see that there's less and less contact. It's all sports. Contact is
so here, this is like a gray area for me. So a study came out about enforcers, and it was studying like what their lives were like post retirement.
Enforcing, baby.
Yeah, but so basically a lot of them like died from drugs or suicide, or like double the rate compared to non-enforcer peers. So it has CTE has like very real repercussions as well. But like, there needs to be sort of a middle ground for the league where you don't sort of lose that like great aspect of hockey while at the same time sort of making it safer for everyone.
I think it's going to be slowly. It's going to happen over that time frame, and I think that it's just the way that's going to go, and it's going to be looked at. I've always compared it to the gladiator games. We look at it now and say, "Wow, what a I cannot believe they killed people for entertainment, and they fought lions and bears and fought each other." It's going to be looked at the same time. Man, they used to beat the hell out of each other and punch each other and collide with each other when all they're trying to do is put a puck in the net. Why did they allow them to do that?
I have a hot take here, and it's one of those. It's one of these TJ hot takes. This is what's going to happen eventually. I can't tell you exactly when. Absolutely going to happen. There's going to be some other civilization from another planet who's looking at us, and they're seeing how we're just weenieing up the whole society, knowing, let's turn everybody all happy. They're going to come down here. They're going to kick our asses in about 15 minutes, take over the planet, and that'll be the end of humanity.
They could do that now if they
want to visit us, Grumpy. I'm not liking our chances. So unless they're peaceful people that visit us, I'm not liking our chances.
No.
But yes, I believe
look at the little guy. Look at the little alien. Hi. Come here. Oh, you're not allowed to hit me. That offends me. Okay, whatever you say.
Grumpy, you'd be dead before that happens, Grumpy. So
I will be. Probably. Like I said, it's coming though.
Tony
You know, like even you look at like the KHL, at the Liga, the SHL. It's like fighting isn't like banned, but it's not like as much of a part of hockey culture there. So you see those players coming over, and they're not the players known for fighting. So you'll see, I think, probably the same thing start to happen with players from the Q, maybe eventually the CHL.
I don't want to see the NHL turn into an all-star game where no one plays defense, no one touches anyone, everyone just skates around and shoots the puck on empty nets. I don't want to see that.
You know, the NHL needs to find sort of their like Goldilocks zone, but they need to learn they can't go sort of too far out of bounds with that.
My little brownie said, "Reminder, TJ, it's not Twitter; it's now called X." Okay, apparently I have not paid enough attention. I did notice that it changed to X. Frank K said, "Hey, Nikki." But why is Lou allowed anywhere near this organization since he set the team back 7 to 10 years? Lastly, Malkin is a joke for allowing this egomaniac to come back. 40 years of ineptitude. Yeah.
Moses had a better chance of winning the Islanders too.
So Lou still has this reputation from 20 years ago that somehow has more weight than his actions right now. And you have like this is the same reason Barkov is still called an underrated player. And he's not underrated. It's just sort of something that sticks with you. But I agree. I think I want to see the ownership actually, you know, take a stand and say, you know, like we have this beautiful new arena. We have fans who are excited to see the team go somewhere, but we can't be content with mediocrity. Yep.
And again, sometimes you got to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. Rick Ramos says, "Holy hell, these prospects stink. The future is not bright."
See, this isn't true. They don't stink. They're going to be, like, at least some of them, very decent NHLers. They're just not stars. And when you're talking about rebuilding, that's an issue. Having decent NHLers, if you're, like content in your cup window, is fine. If you have, like, a slow turnaround and they're slowly making their way up the ranks and they'll fill in holes in the NHL roster, it's okay. If you're planning to rebuild in 3, 4, or 5 years, it's not okay.
Philadelphia has decent NHLers. San Jose has decent NHLers.
They've got
Anaheim's got some talent, but they have mostly decent NHLs. You know what those teams are at the bottom of the barrel? Chicago, decent players.
I'd say I'd be more happy if we were a team like Anaheim.
Yeah,
where we currently are, at least at the Anaheim. I'm like, I've got reasons where I can be optimistic. I see guys, I see the talent and the young players that are coming through, and I can see what can come through. Gungun says, "Nicole, am I crazy, or does TJ's mustache scream Nystrom?"
No, it does.
Well, much appreciated there.
Your hairline is like Bobby Nystrom too.
He's got a robust bit of hair, I'm sure, Grumpy.
Well, he's bald now. He shaves it. But that's why his hair, he had the longer blonde hair, and it absolutely looked like that.
Drew Hell says, "Nicole, has anyone been added to your fan club since the last time?"
We have the Aatu Raty fan club, which has since disbanded.
Oh, it's disbanded. So there's no new fan club.
There's no fan club. We just sometimes we get together to cry. You know.
Goon says here, Dennis Goodbog is another in a long line of badass Islander player names. Cal Clutterbuck, Miroslav Satan, Oleg Kavasha, Zdeno Chara, etc. Can you think of any other candidates?
Yes, we can. Next comment.
John says here, none of these defensive prospects will even sniff NHL ice for 4 to 5 years. There might be one spot available by then. That's another thing to think of, too. So many of these defensemen that we have signed are all signed to 5+ years down the road, too.
Oh, yeah. No, you know.
Pellick, Pulak, Mayfield, Dobson, Romanov.
They're either going to be moved for way too expensive of a price, or their bodies are going to give up at that point. They're not lasting. I'm sorry.
No, Tony G. She's not been drinking Lou Lemonade. She does not seem like she's pro
Lou Lemonade.
Luminade. I've mispronounced. Good. TJ, Nicole, TJ almost fainted when the Islanders plucked Romanoff, and I recalled at the time you saying that you weren't that opposed to the maneuver. What are your thoughts concerning the Russian eruption now, though?
Sure. I mean, so like now looking back in retrospect, would I have given up a first round pick? No. Do I think he's hurting us? No. I think I want to see him make less mistakes and liabilities, but if he sort of becomes more disciplined and still manages to keep up that physicality, he can be an asset. I don't think he hurt the team, especially like towards the end of the regular season. I think he got a lot better.
He is like a dog who sees a squirrel. Yes, you're supposed to stay, Fido. He goes chasing it, gets pulled out of position. And he did get better at the end of the year. But you know what? That bar was so low. It's not like he was great at the end of the year either.
You could see there's things that I like about him, but there's a lot that I'm like, come on, I want to start the lack of positional awareness and his ability just to be drawn. I can't tell you how many times where it's like, oh, there's a 2-1 opportunity, or here's a fantastic save by Sorokin. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, that's Romanoff, and he's going 3-on-1, and they make the pass here, and it's a wide open opportunity. I'm like,
look at Dobson. Look at Dobson back there by himself. He didn't make the play. It's Dobson's fault. Well, where the hell's Romanoff? Oh, he's up ice running some guy along the boards.
It's like he's playing like he's playing an NHL video game, wanting to lay these huge hits. I'm like, come on, man. David Sean McDonald says our window is more like a doggy door. Oh man,
oh, wow.
Good gosh. It's we got here a comment. Lou Ron lump of jelly can't wait to take more picks and prospects. I'd like or trade more picks and prospects. I like the name. Nicole looks like she knows how 401ks work. Anthony Rizzi says, now onto something more important. TJ, are we doing a fantasy football league again? Yes, we are. We will do definitely a fantasy football league this year. We'll make sure. I'll make sure. Yes, it's coming up soon. Shit, yes. I'll make sure. I'll make it public as to which one we're doing. I'll get all the emails. We'll do a fantasy football this year. Gungun says,
Smirnoff is the answer to this question.
Why don't you read the question, then, Grumpy?
Grumpy, who you predict will provide more entertainment when all is said and done? Jacob Skarek. Well, there's none from him. Or Jakub Smirnoff. It'll be Smirnoff.
Jakub is my grandpa's name.
There you go.
John says here, when you call the surrounding neighborhood of Bridgeport an absolute dump, Lou is definitely punishing him.
No, that was taken out. So he said it was a den, which like I think translated it was in either Swedish or Finnish. Like it just means that like it's boring. Which I get. Like you're a young player, you want to go out and like go to the clubs and go party. And I think it was just taken out of context.
Like a lamb, Grumpy says, Mr. Magic is what the warden calls Grumpy.
That's
oh
right.
My God. Ugh, please no. John Smith said, can't bring up Maggio if the roster is chock full of fourth liners. Oh gosh. Yeah. Mr. Magic is cocky. Lou will banish him for that type of creativity, says Rick Roma. And Matthew S. said, at least regarding the shootout goal. Oh my freaking God, ridiculous mitts. Don't say anything. Oh gosh. D-Cut says, Nicole, don't say anything bad about the Islander prospects. It will hurt Michael M's feelings. Oh, no. Let's see here. Okay. Ishikov's biggest flaw is that he was drafted by Snow. That was his biggest flaw. Oh man, was he technically drafted by Snow, or was that the draft class where Lou was there?
He was 2020, right?
And he was the same one as Bodie Wild. Was that which one was that?
Was it 19? Wait. He was drafted.
That was Lamoriello who drafted him, wasn't
really?
It was
2018.
2018 draft. That was before Lamoriello, right?
Well, no, 2018 was the Dobson. Okay, so that was Dobson, Wallstrom, Ishikov. Yeah, guys who could actually play, but we're not going to give him any shot. Sorry.
Okay, here. What's up, Helen Yeller? Everybody's saying hello here to Nicole, saying hello. How are you doing? We'll just skip over that. I bet Wander Franco would love to be in the minor league.
Oh
team.
My God!
If they were a bunch of this Drew there. Yeah, how crazy.
I'm sure we'll talk more about Wander Franco tomorrow night.
Good thing he was on the fantasy team. The funny thing is,
He's only 22. He's still a kid himself.
My God, an idiot.
Yeah.
Mario says here, so Lou has enhanced the culture of the Islanders. I was wrong in believing he didn't change the culture at all.
No, I mean, there was a huge culture change. I just think eventually became too stringent.
Yeah, he's, it helped, but it's like, it's time to move on. Now that we're no longer a laughing stock, it's time to take that momentum and move into the current style of NHL.
He was like a good GM for that transition, and he helped the Islanders be respected again.
Yep.
Now you need new blood that has sort of like a direction for the future.
I use head coaches like Gerard Gallant. He always does a great job from bringing you from a poor point to where you're a real team that can compete in the postseason. You make the postseason every year. You're a competitive team, but you need somebody else to get you past the Gerard Gallant point to win you that cup. He's never going to win you the cup.
I mean,
it's close, but
yeah.
Never. And now the one thing I wonder about, I'm like, there should be no reason why players, and like we've heard every excuse under the book. Oh, they don't want to come for this reason or that reason. Used to be the stadium, used to be the facilities. Oh, well, we were playing in Barclays and we were playing here and we're playing in 2 different home ices. That's why nobody wants to come here. Nobody wants to come here because their team's a laughing stock. Nobody wants to come here because their owners are cheap. And we heard every excuse in the book. There is literally no excuse that I can think of right now besides antiquated Lou Lamoriello does not excite players.
Simple. No, I mean, this is what players think straight from someone who personally knows it.
Grumpy, now we're able to run with that narrative even more. We've got solid proof, Grumpy. It's a done deal.
Here's
it's
the thing. I've been saying it for how long?
But now we've got
I had no proof, but I knew. You know, it doesn't take a freaking genius, like I said. It doesn't take a genius to figure these things out.
Here you go, Grumpy. Let's read this one.
Simon says, squeal like a pig. Ned Beatty.
Nick D
says, Nicole, I have to disagree with you about Lou. Lou has to be terminated.
I don't think she said
need to completely wash their hands from Lou Lamoriello. He's 81 in October. Enough is enough.
I think Nicole wants Lou gone. Maybe I'm wrong.
I do want Lou gone. I could see him becoming president, but like best case scenarios. Bye-bye.
The only one who doesn't want him gone is Fredo Lamoriello, because he's never had a job since he was a freaking paper boy that his daddy didn't get for him. He wasn't smart enough to go to college. It's because daddy was at Providence that he slithered Fredo in there.
No, he's probably really smart.
He comes out of college and he's all of a sudden a head scout for the New Jersey Devils.
He was a
shitty hockey player. He's a shitty everything. He's Fredo, the weak ass member of the Lamoriello family.
Do you want to take a guess how many games Fredo played in college hockey? It wasn't a lot. He played on Providence for 4 years. No, I thought it was less than that. Hold on.
It was 29. I think it was 29, 17, something like that.
Oh, we get a cameo.
That cat's really, man, she's got some white hair.
God, okay.
Looks like she had a
wow, Grumpy, holy shit, it's scary how you almost remembered how long he played. He wound up playing a total in 4 years of 23 games. And he had
I thought it was 29.
He did get 1 assist at his entire college career. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good there, Grumpy. And bring in Johnny Boychuk. Look at that cat there, Grumpy.
It's bigger than your little kitty cats. Your kitty cats are still kittens, though.
They are.
That cat looks like
evil a little bit.
No, he was a stray baby, and we took him in.
I thought with the ears, it makes him look kind of evil with his eyes.
Like an Oreo, it's black, white, so we named him Oreo.
Drew says, I don't trust our owners. If Lou were to become the president, to have the balls to tell Lou to sit up there and shut up. Ledecky looks like he belongs with his tech need. Probably tech nerds.
Tech nerds. Love autocorrect there. And tap, McFly, says Brett W. That's right, McFly. John A. said, somehow Bleacher Report ranked Bailey the 5th amongst the top 10 best free agents still available.
The rest probably just really sucked.
Oh, I was about to say, yes. They had to, the fall off must have been steep, as if I already didn't take their hockey coverage seriously.
Actually, it was 5th amongst Bailey members in his house. He was the 5th highest. His wife was first. All of his kids were 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and he was bringing up the rear.
David D says here, this year's trade deadline, Lou will trade our first rounder for an ex-Devil and Ducks player that played and was a captain. Adam Henrique, huh? Oh God,
That just,
like,
that just tell me that doesn't.
I could see that happening, which
yes,
it's concerning.
It feels like a Lamoriello move.
Google says, Nicole, what are your thoughts about Phil Sachs? Is he a poet, a prophet, or simply
A
schmeal, whatever that is?
A schlemiel.
What's a schmeal?
Is that supposed to be Yiddish? It feels like Yiddish.
What the hell's a schmeal? Schmeal.
That's what Phil.
Clarify. It feels like Yiddish. I don't know if it's Yiddish.
Schmeal.
It's like a I can't, like a schlep.
Okay, schlep. Yes, got it.
A stupid, awkward, or unlucky person.
So it's an actual. Is it Yiddish? Is it Yiddish?
I don't know. I just says Yiddish.
It is okay.
Okay, don't quiz TJ on words. I mean, we could be here all night.
So what are your opinions on Phil Sachs?
He's a schlemiel. Given those three, he's absolutely a schlemiel.
I know, like the difference of opinion he has towards Sorokin and like Shesterkin is just insane to me.
Yes, he hates Sorokin.
Right? I know. Like, Sorokin was better this season. I mean, like plainly,
way better.
And still, you're like, oh, like the way he treats the two goalies is, I don't know, it's insane to me. And I know I'm like a Sorokin defender, but I think he was clearly the best goalie in the league. If you like even out the teams they played behind, and like Ullmark did not deserve. That's a whole other episode right there.
Yeah.
But I mean, Sorokin was plainly the best goalie in the league if you talk about individual performance.
Mm-hmm.
So just because of that,
for MVP of a team, it was Sorokin. Without Sorokin,
no, exactly. That's
what
like.
What are we? 10 points out of the playoff?
If you don't talk advanced stats, if you right, like wins, team stat, even save percentage to a point is a team stat. So how do you give Ullmark the Vezina based on?
Well, his numbers were great, but
because of the team he played behind. But if you go into like analytics,
but analytics,
the second best goal saved above expected since 2008, and that was Lundqvist.
No, we don't need to look at analytics. All you have to do is watch games.
I mean, it's true, but like it's a good. The eye test is debatable. Analytics, at least you have something on paper.
No. The eye test is the only thing that works. I don't need analytics. I could see if a guy's good or not. I don't need, he had this many. I could care less about that.
The sweet spot is a mixture of both.
Yeah, I don't mind having both.
Absolutely not. The eyeball is all I need.
Eyeball. How is Sorokin better than Shesterkin? Just eyeball. They have an extremely similar game.
Sorokin was better last year than Shesterkin.
How?
He just was.
He just was.
It do be like that sometimes.
He just was, but if you go to the advanced stats,
I don't need that. Here's the thing.
You could back up that he was.
When Sorokin came up with so many big saves and big moments, where Shesterkin was not as good last year. Here's where Shesterkin struggled last year. He wasn't as great as he was the year before. He was still damn good last year, but he wasn't the same. If you looked at him, he was not the same. Sorokin was sensational last year. Without him, we don't even sniff the playoffs.
Exactly. He was the single difference maker between us being probably going for Bedard,
being Washington,
making the playoffs, right?
With us being Washington, honestly, and where we were.
That's my word. So I think the Washington organization and the Capitals fans are content never trying for a cup again as long as Ovechkin is with them going for the record.
You know, I could see that kind of, as if I was a Washington fan, I'd be like, I don't think we have a chance to win a cup, but at least he can do this, and I got to witness it. I could see
that's what I've seen from a lot of Washington fans, and you know what? Good for them. If they're happy with that, good for them.
Washington will be better next year than they were this year.
I do agree with that.
The Tom Wilson contract doesn't make sense to me.
I'm talking about on the ice. I'm talking.
No,
about
I know, but
I think
still.
they're trying to win a cup for the right now. They're trying to put the best pieces around Ovechkin they can right now. I think the contract reminded me almost a spitting image of the Anders Lee contract. Almost a spitting image. Same around the same term.
Yeah, but Anders Lee, the team at that point, the Islanders team had a better chance of winning the cup than this Washington.
The Islanders never had a shot of winning a cup.
They had a better chance when that contract was handed out compared to the Washington team as it stands right now.
When that Anders Lee contract was handed out, we were bad. I think we were coming off. That was that the first off season of Lou or the first full off season, or was it a part? Because that was the same year Panarin was signed.
We lost Tavares in the first year, and then
so we were miserable. We were miserable. That was when he took over. So we were at a time period our team was bad. We just lost Tavares. We thought we were going to go through a rebuild under brand new management.
And we had our best year under Lamoriello and Trotz was the first year.
Most points, yeah. I was about to say craziest.
No, you see that the contract was handed out when like the team had some like direction. They thought they would get better, but right now the Capitals handed out that contract being content and not trying for the cup. Because I don't think right now they're even going to come remotely close.
I think none of the teams are cup contenders, but I think they still Grumpy and I've talked about this. We think that both Washington and Pittsburgh and us to a little bit of a same extent are in similar boats. We all have no chance of winning the cup. Our ownership and general manager are foolish enough to believe that we do. Now, Washington and Pittsburgh both in the past have won cups, and they both have guys who are generational talents: Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Ovechkin, Carlson, Backstrom, etc., who are, probably Hall of Fame caliber players that think they can win one more cup, and they're just deluded. So they just are on the wrong thought process, but they want to give that legendary player one last chance. And they know it's going to be a full rebuild.
I can understand why Pittsburgh and Washington would do that. Because when you've won Stanley Cups and you have generational players, you want to keep them as long as you can, and you don't want to go into rebuild unless you're moving them as part of your rebuild. You don't want to go into that rebuild,
which is what Chicago did, and I mean, separate from the whole scandal.
Yeah. I said last year that I said if Pittsburgh is smart, they should have gone ahead and moved Malkin away or not sign when he was a free agent, not sign him back, where they should have moved him away at the deadline. Pittsburgh should have been trying to phase out some of these players, but they're like, yeah, and again, I understand why they're not. They're not going to trade away legendary guys like Malkin, Ovechkin, or Malkin, Crosby, just like Washington will never trade away Ovechkin.
No team does. Like that. No team ever does.
I understand why they don't, because it's the legacy standpoint. Like, we would never trade away Bossy. We would never trade away Nystrom. We would never trade away Trottier. Guys like that, we never would do that.
I think there are fans who go to Pittsburgh games just to see Crosby, even now. Same with Ovechkin. It makes them money and makes fans happy.
Yep, absolutely. Mikey D says here, such a smart idea about getting a young assistant general manager and then promoting him. I counted about 10 teams whose general managers were promoted with that route. 2 right in our division with the Devils and the Rangers.
Yeah.
They won't, though. They won't.
Islanders won't do that. Which is a mistake.
It bothers. Like, it
how many years
concern fans?
TJ, how many years have I been saying they should have been starting to transition to a new assistant GM? How many years ago? 3? 4?
We've been talking about this for at least 2+ years, 3, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it. All it would do was benefit. What's the harm in bringing in a young general manager to learn another road? What is Luke going to be a general manager until he's 85, 90 years old? I mean, he's oh, no worries. He's the oldest general manager in the history of the NHL. And the crazy thing was, I think it's maybe the history of sports. I know it's definitely the NHL. And the crazy thing was, his prior contract under the Toronto Maple Leafs, he was the second, or he was like a top 5 oldest. So he was old as hell with Toronto, and he's even older here now. He's the oldest in the history of the NHL. And I don't think that's a record that's going to be broken anytime soon.
It's a young man's game. It's not like the olden days where everything was, hey, we're going to call you up on the telephone, smoke-filled rooms, we get a trade done. It's not the way it's done anymore.
We play poker and we have it a good old boys club. Maybe it's still a good old boys club.
The old man has never been able to handle the salary cap. It was his downfall. And here's the thing. I don't blame him for that, because he cut his teeth in a whole different era. So he doesn't get ripped for it. But you know what? At some point in time, you can't be so proud where you just say, you know what? I can't handle this. I need somebody who's really freaking smart. Before I make a deal, we need a capologist in here, not somebody just, well, let's just spread it out over a 10-year contract extension for a Pierre Engvall or a Scott Mayfield.
I think that's on the owners right now to step up, and they just won't.
I think they're scared. I think
I think that the Property Brothers, we joke around about that this year. I think that they're just in it to sell the team at one point. They have no long-term interest. They want to get as much bang for the buck, make it look somewhat profitable, sell this team off as soon as they can. And you know what? If that's what it takes in order to get a legitimate owner, that's fine. I think Ledecky is like, I compare him to Goofy at Disney World. He's like a character. You go out there, hey, and he signs, and he's got an ear-to-ear smile on his face. Ha-ha, the Islanders are great all the time. He's all happy there at Disney World.
He's like the cartoon politician, like the mayor, small town mayor.
And then you start waiting on hour-long waits for all the lines at Disney where you're like, holy shit.
Not anymore. It's like 21 minutes to wait for any ride at Disney now.
Okay, but you know how you.
No one goes anymore. That's what happens when you put out.
It's going to be just like the Islanders, Grumpy. It's going to be just like the Islanders.
When you put out a flawed product, no one goes. And if people really want, seriously, people ever want this organization to change and get better, they need to stop going to games.
Oh, you know what? This is it. Who can guess my favorite Islander? It's not going to be. It's going to be towards the early part of that era.
So the comment there says, Nicole, who's your favorite Islander from 06 to 09 era? TJ and Grumpy, you can answer to. Well, thank you for allowing us to answer. Now, we won't be reading every comment. We're trying to really select comments because we're trying not to go 3 hours on every show.
Particularly with a guest.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly true. Now, favorite player from 06. I want to guess you're a Rob Schremp type of guy.
Maybe.
You're a fan of Robbie Schremp. Was he playing back in 06?
Me?
No, Nicole. I'm guessing Nicole's favorite player.
No, wrong. Given what you know about me, my background.
Sharkovsky maybe, or is it got to be? Oh shit, who the hell was the guy who looks like the Penguin?
Who played for us in 06? Come on.
What did you say, Nicole? I'm sorry.
Who played for the Islanders in 06?
I was going to think
you was block that stuff out.
You probably blocked it out like traumatically, but I was a child and I liked seeing someone with a similar background on the ice.
Not in the Nabokov, was it? No.
I'm not even going to guess.
This was like his last year with the Islanders.
Miroslav Satan.
Yash.
Give us.
Alexei Yashin.
Yashin. Okay, gotcha.
Biggest crush on him as a kid.
Well, for those, Nicole,
right? Yashin's got
That's not a thing.
Hanging fruit.
Now, Nicole is of Russian heritage, for those who don't know, so that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, It does.
Sure, Yashin is a hell of a player too, even towards the tail end. I don't think I had a favorite player as a kid growing up. Did I, Grump?
John Tavares was your favorite player.
Well, not as a kid. No, as a kid growing up. John Tavares was here. I was in my team.
Everyone has to have like a player you gravitate towards.
I was a Dominic Hasek fan. I was not a fan of anybody on the Islanders.
Really?
The Islanders are bad.
I got that too. Like I used to love Ovechkin.
I was a big Dominic Hasek guy. 2009,
Tavares was here.
Okay, Grumpy, when 2009, Grumpy, I was 16, 17 years old. As a child, I was not a fan of any player on the Islanders because
from 2006 to 2009, it's a very short time frame.
Oh wait, so our inaugural year in Barclays, I go and like I want a New Jersey. It has like the cool patch, but I don't know who I want to get. So I ask like the attendant in Barclays, and I'm like, who would you get? And this is how I got my first Barclays jersey. Boychuk, he's hot. Funny story. That's how I ended up with my Boychuk jersey. And, he ended up being one of my favorite players. But I was at this point? Yeah, I was like
now
a teen.
What did you find? Now, here's the thing. What did you find so attractive about Johnny Boychuk?
Nothing. His play. Like, I never found him attractive.
Oh, okay. Because a lot of ladies absolutely find him attractive. And it's the odds.
Maddie Martin.
I got so much hate for this. I haven't found Barzy attractive in like 3 years. I'm sorry.
Since he got his hair cut?
It's not even the hair. It's like, I don't know. I grew out of it.
Paige, the lovely Paige thinks Maddie B's a cute looking guy.
That's the only hockey player she knows.
Oh, Matt Barzal. Oh yeah, Maddie.
She's like, He's like, name us 5 hockey players. She goes, Gretzky.
No, she doesn't even know who Gretzky is.
And Matt Barzal.
If I ask Paige right now to list off a few players, she knows Matt Barzal. I don't think she knows anybody else that played hockey.
Kachuk, like the whole pass thing and the curls. It's a good look.
There it is.
Honestly, I can't even remember back in that era who it was. We were bad. We were really freaking bad back then.
Even like when you're bad, there's one player you gravitate towards.
I can't even remember that. What's that? 15 years ago? Shit. I can't come up with anyone.
Okay, I'm just reading anything that's got a question mark I'm trying to pull out here. Premium says, Nicole, what is your biggest passion in life? The Islanders or psychology? Or medicine or science?
Hopefully I'll be in medicine for the rest of my life if all goes to plan. So and this is being posted on my public, social media account. So medicine.
Medicine. She's only planning on being an Islander fan for a finite amount of time period.
No. But you know what? The Islanders aren't going to give me a job or get me in right? So
it depends on how much you kiss their ass. They might have jobs open.
Hey, you need a future position? Lou, get me a word in.
Oh gosh, I'm not sure. Not under that regime. You don't want to buy down into.
Okay, no, our current head of medicine has issue. He wrote a whole anti-CTE manifesto for the Jets. So it's also not good. He's like, repeated head trauma does not cause CTE, which it's not true. So,
Nicole, I have a way to stop concussions in the NFL. Take the helmets off the players.
No concussions if you just die.
They won't be hitting people with their heads anymore. They won't be doing that anymore.
They'll still be falling. Concussions aren't just from no,
they will learn how to wrap tackle. That's what they'll
whiplash, concussions, that all contributes.
Nobody gets concussions from whiplash in the NFL. It's helmet to helmet.
Concussion, CTE isn't
they
only
do when they hit the ground. Sometimes
whiplash. So when you're whiplash happens, so you fall back, and the force of that literally makes your brain hit your skull, and you get
helmet's not going to stop that.
That's just brain trauma.
You know what? You know what they're going to do? It's just going to be no contact. I'm telling you, that is the way all sports are moving. Maybe not in my lifetime, but in the next 100 years, there will be no contact in any of the sports. None.
I have a theory, Nicole. Since football players are dumb, their brains are smaller than others. All they got to do is shake it to like a rattle up there anyway. So, that's why they get a lot of
players usually have the highest IQs in the room, Grumpy.
TJ's a former football player.
People who wear Thor shirts, usually people who wear superhero shirts as adults are very low on that list, Grumpy.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm cool with that.
There it is. We've got here Mario says here he traded away a first for Palmieri and Green. A first for Palmieri and a second for Green, I believe it was.
Actually, it was a first and a fourth for Palmieri and Zajac and a second for Green.
Yep.
And then a first and a second for Pajot. Think about that.
Yeah.
Now, you see, the Palmieri trade can be upset about that. And I think he helped us a lot in that run. Now, the problem is you don't have to overpay players to keep them.
He scored. You realize he's been here, 3 years or 2.5 years? He has 80 points?
Okay. Can I say something? He scores when he's allowed to have a beard, and he's not allowed to have a beard.
It's almost like Lou should maybe. You know what I hope?
Talked about that.
I hope.
Oh my God. So Sorokin, every summer he goes back to Russia, and without fail, he gives an interview about how he misses his long hair and his beard without fail.
You know what he should do? Just go there and say, fuck you. I'm doing this. You don't want it? I won't show up.
Sorokin? No way.
Anybody. I'm sick and tired of him having a tyrannical rule over everything. I'm done with it. No one needs to be done. Somebody signs or makes it verbal in public. No, I'm not going to sign unless you let me happen to this. I was going to sign with the Islanders, but there was one guy who wouldn't let people grow beards or wouldn't let them grow a mustache. So I said, I'll take my talent somewhere else. You know what would change the opinion of the fan base really fucking quick? Because that's what it is. Ugh.
This is okay. You want to know why Lou doesn't let people grow long hair? Because he can't.
Jealous.
So he's
Look,
jealous.
he pays.
He's jealous.
He's jealous, and it would affect his Beaky the Buzzard look if he grew a mustache or a beard.
That's right. He's Beaky the Buzzard.
There it is. My Little Brownie says, if there's no fighting, there goes the Gordie Howe hat trick. A total FU to a legend.
Thank you, my
Wait,
little brownie.
Lee got one last year, right?
We did?
Was it Lee? Lee got one.
Maybe. I was about to say, Lee's fought a little bit more the older he's gotten.
He got, no, I remember I tweeted out that his dogs are named Gordy and Howie, so it was funny.
I don't know if he
He
did.
got one. It was either last year or the year before that. He definitely got one.
Let's see here. I'm trying to find
Oh, speaking of that, I almost forgot Ross is in the organization. What does he do? Is he a mascot? Is he Sparky? He might be the guy inside Sparky.
Oh, Ross Johnson. Yeah, I was about to say, Sparky, he'd have to be huge. Now, Ross is another one of those signings that, like, it doesn't make sense. We never utilize the guy. I'm like,
no,
why did
what exactly? I'm like, okay, so you overpay a little just to be able to send him down to the OHL. No one else is going to take that contract on. They won't, take him up off of waiters. Okay, but he's just doing nothing,
rotting away his career. And yeah,
I like Ross Johnson. Always like Ross Johnson. Ross Johnson is just as good as Matt Martin.
Yes.
They're virtually the same player. Why did you re-sign him to a 4-year deal?
Exactly. I don't understand the way Lou's brain works sometimes. Like, where did you see that going?
Or when he signed Martin back to a 4-year extension.
Cizikas, yes, he's not worth the contract, but you can see some life in him sometimes. You know what I mean? Clutterbuck, Martin, right now, they don't have life on the ice. And I'm sorry, I love them as people. I think there's some of the in their prime, they were some of the best Islanders player, pure what it means to be an Islander. But why?
The antithesis of what it was to be a New York Islander. And it's like they're no longer that. And we gave the huge contract to Cizikas, was always a head scratcher. But it's like for Matty Martz, I'm like, he's finished. And it's like, it's ugh. Yeah.
So if you want to keep the guys on for culture, you give them a nice cushy job that won't count against the cap space. Let them have their office. Let them help literally make up a job. Let them stay. Whatever. Why are you taking up cap space and roster space when they're not helping the team?
It just makes no sense. He does it with everyone. Like with Casey Cizikas. Who was the player TJ said the Islanders should have went after and the one I'm trying to Eric Howla. That's the guy I wanted. 2 years. He took 2 years less money than Cizikas got in less term and is a better player than Casey Cizikas. But it's like we can't break away from, these are our guys and we're going to keep them. And when they trade for guys, it's like the Stockholm syndrome. They're in there and they get brainwashed thinking everything's great.
It's so I love what they're doing with Boychuk. I love that he's around the organization. He's helping develop the younger players. Just do that with players you need to, say bye-bye to.
Yep. Absolutely. Now, Tony G says, "Ooh, I can now Photoshop your cat doing horrible things." Nicole, Tony G's likes to do that.
Yeah, he's a war criminal, honestly.
Watch out! Just
that's bad. Nicole, what would the Islanders have to do to accomplish this year for you to classify the season as not being a stink bomb?
I mean, you want to say, make the playoffs, but I'm not content with them making the playoffs and then again, burning out in the first round. I want to see them make the playoffs and have at least a decent run.
I said Eastern Conference Finals at least.
At least something. You want to see, a will to live from the players. They get complacent on the ice. You feel like they don't really care at a point.
What about you, Grumpy? What would the season have to be for you to consider it a success?
Fire Lou Lamoriello. Gut the franchise. Just start over. Just rip it down from the studs and just.
They won't. I don't think
I know they won't.
That won't happen for 4 or 5 years.
I talked with Grumpy. If the Islanders don't make the playoffs this next year, it's almost like we want to start putting up. Well, it wouldn't be that bad, but it's
Billboards?
really bad if he still remains as GM, right? I'm not sure it would be billboard bad, but it's two times.
Okay, no billboard, mob with pitchforks.
Yes. I was about to say, it's got to be awful if you don't make the postseason again next year. It's 2 out of the last 3 years you didn't make the postseason for a team that was just coming off a time period when we were Stanley Cup or
Well, I'll
bust.
go one step further. Not just make. If you make and get out in the first round, same exact thing. We shouldn't be content with, going and just giving up after you have like that little milestone.
It doesn't matter. Even if we squeak into the playoffs, you're going to play either Jersey or Carolina, and you're going to get swept. That's what's going to happen. You know what? I want to give Lou Lamoriello.
Lou Lamoriello.
Yeah, Lou Lamoriello. I want to give him season tickets at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. And maybe something good will happen one night.
No, Grumpy. You're trying to say he's going to get a set? Don't even say
that. Is that a Lincoln? Oh, God, that's dark.
Yes, Grumpy.
Wow.
Grumpy, they're throwing Lincoln references.
I didn't know. Actually, I didn't know if you're going to pick up on it, so I just think
Wow. Okay, that is.
Now here's the thing. We're just kidding, of course. That was purely for comedic purposes.
What, Grumpy? Oh man, I thought you were trying to bring it back, and I thought you wanted to bring John Wilkes Booth in there, Grumpy.
Lou Lamoriello is not important enough for somebody to assassinate. So.
That is correct. It's not that big of a deal. It's a sports team general manager. Gungun says, Nicole, will the Islanders ever have a power play that is not an utter embarrassment? Long pause, so we'll take that answer as no time soon.
We'll be better this year than last year. We will.
Sure, we can't be.
You're not going to come to 31st again.
What year did we have like that 1 month with a really good power play? Was that 2022?
That was the year we did make the playoffs.
Last year, 2022. Yep, yeah, we had the best.
That crazy like outlier month. I still remember.
Mm-hmm.
That was the 1 year we didn't make the playoffs. Was our best power play year. Other than that, we're middle 20s.
Not even. I feel like we were like really bad. We
got
lower, right? Yeah.
Our best year, I think we were 15 or 16. Other than that, we've been mid 20s,
13th,
lower third, bottom third league.
Damien Shaw McDonald says here, honestly, we don't have a great track record of drafting in the top 20. We're in the Ottawa or the Edmonton Oilers category with drafting. It seems like we have better results in the second round pick and beyond.
You know what? I'm gonna like we haven't drafted in a while, like in the first round, but when they did, they seem to think they're like smarter than the consensus,
right?
Which it's a problem. And like, I'm not like on Grumpy's Holmstrom is horrible train. I think he's okay. He's not like going to single-handedly ruin the franchise. But like at that point, I don't know, like if the scouts thought they were smarter than like literally everyone else in the room, or if Lou did, like you can't like deviate that far from the draft board. Yeah,
he was projected to be a late second round pick. That was his projection, and somehow they just honestly, it was mind numbing. I wanted Philip Tomasino or Arthur Kaliev or Connor.
I wanted Kaliev. So I'm from Staten Island. He's from Staten Island. Like he as close to a hometown boy as you're going to get realistically, like from the draft. I mean, yeah.
Those are the guys that I wanted. And he went off totally. I'm like, man, we're going to get Tomasino. We're going to get Tomasino. We're going to get Tomasino. Here was the problem with Tomasino. He said his hero and who he likes to model his play after was Matt Barzal. That should have been clue one, that we were never drafting him with Barry Trotz as coach. Arthur Kaliev, well, what do we need? Goal scorer. What do we still need? Goal scorer. And they drafted Hammenegger instead. Conrad Michael, I don't think his skating held him back. He was more well-rounded, I think, of all three of those players. But the worst guy was Simon Holmstrom. There was no scenario which I wanted him.
Yes. And David Shaw McDonald says here, honestly, we don't. Oh, I'm sorry. I read that.
You already read that. The difference is we're not haven't even picked in the first round, once in the last 5 years. So you can't say we don't make those selections.
Yeah.
Or we don't draft well because we
don't have a sample size.
Yeah. Simon Holmstrom is your guy. Well, you're right.
TJ doesn't listen to music, just the voices speaking gibberish between his ears. I can see TJ losing an argument to himself, or arguing with himself and losing.
We're back to the sociopathic tendencies.
Yep, we're finally there. Ledecky is Mayor Quimby in The Simpsons. And I've never watched The Simpsons, but not
like a figurehead, right? All talk, no game.
I cannot believe that you admitted that
I've
you've
watched.
never
I know
seen
The Simpsons characters.
Wait, like not even an episode?
I've watched it, but it's been so long.
It's been on for 35 years. I can't believe you said you've never watched this.
I've watched an episode or so, but I don't really know any of the characters, like Homer, Marge, the baby, Bart. That's it.
What's the girl's name? The sister?
Lucy.
Lisa.
Yeah, it's Lucy. Lucy Van Pelt.
Lisa.
Lucy Van Pelt.
Okay. Jason Blake. That's an old throwback right there. Let's look here. What else we've got comment wise? Okay, let's take a look here. I'm trying to see. I think we've got. Okay, here we go. My Little Brownie says, "Oh man, I think the two ladies and Nicole. Are there any others on here? We don't have a large consortment of ladies, but Nicole,
we do not have a large female fan base. Let's just say that.
No, we do not. But we're talking. Oh God, Tony Cheese wants to know: have you ever heard of Dallas Dixon, Nicole?
Just move on.
I don't even know what this is referring to, and I don't think I want to get into it.
You probably don't. Our last first round pick was in 2019.
And that was what? No,
Casper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, did we have second round? Was that Wild?
The Wild selection was in the same year as Wallstrom and everything like that.
So
And we had Samuel Bolduc. Now Bolduc,
yeah.
second rounder, he's probably. I have higher hopes probably for him than I do Simon Holmstrom.
Right now, yeah.
And
that's very realistic. I think, like Bolduc had that one really bad year, but he bounced back like even better than I thought he would. And you sort of see just like the steps his game is taking gradually as the season goes on. So I think there's potential, and it's reasonable to be hopeful with him.
Agreed.
40 years from now, the grumpy old man will be making Lou Ron's afterlife a nightmare.
That's possible too.
You're going to be with Lou Ron Hubbard there, Grumpy? You're going to be having a good time with him?
It could happen.
Man, you guys can talk Islanders, and you'll have such a great time. Oh, buddy. But hey, guys, we are here at the end of the show today. First off, I want to say thank you so much, Nicole, for joining the show today, talking Islanders prospect, giving us the updates that us fans needed, that the listeners of the show needed about the draft that we had in this year, and as well as the top prospects that we had some updates on. I will say I'm a little more optimistic about our prospects, Grumpy, than what I was going into the show. That's for certain, right? It sounds like, hey, Alex Jeffries, we can believe a little bit in on that side. And right, Isaiah George, I was a little worried, and I was worried about Callie Odelius, but it looks like they have I should be a little bit more optimistic about them. Again, Isaiah George still a fantastic skater, shows all the right talent and ability. So that's good to hear on that side. But thank you, first off, Nicole, for joining the show. I know we mentioned it on the top end. The best place to find you is on Twitter. Now, if I was my first time listening to you today, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to follow you on Twitter, what do you usually tweet? What am I usually going to find on Nicole's Twitter feed?
Random prospect updates. Really hot and cold takes during games. I'm either really happy or very depressed. Random like personal stuff. Now I'm into F1, so if you're also into Formula One, definitely shoot me a follow.
Now Formula.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm in Florida, so I will be posting photos where it's warm while you guys suffer with the snow.
a little bit of fun there. Best place to find her is at Twitter there at Nicole F. Shirman. You can find her on Twitter. That is the best spot to get caught all the up to date or all the types of ways you can get kept up to date on Islander prospects and even future guys there that may be joining the Islanders roster. From the Bridgeport Islanders to what we're doing in juniors, the best way to get kept up to date on all New York Islander prospects. That being said, Nicole, what do you want to say? What are your thoughts here about this upcoming season? again, we're not optimistic just quite yet, but I want to hear you recap what you are excited about this year for the Islanders.
Yeah, I'm excited about watching Bridgeport. We have some new blood coming in. I think it'll be exciting to see how they mesh. I think we very briefly touched on Tristan Lennox, but I think we're going to have a young goalie who we should and can be excited about. Very naturally talented. Maggio, of course, to see how he plays. Maybe we get to see him with DeFore on the same line for a little. When we're talking about the NHL squad, pray to whatever hockey gods you believe in that Barzy and Horvat end up meshing really well, and that Sorokin is able to continue with that same compete level that we saw from him last season. Other than that, I think, yeah, just keep praying that the rest of the roster doesn't fall apart. So, yeah.
We've got, I will say this, we've got some reasons. I'd say too, we talked about reasons to be optimistic. I think there are a few. There's not an overwhelming amount of optimism though, but there are still reasons to be optimistic, and I like to hear other people's viewpoints. So thank you for that, Nicole. Make sure to follow Nicole on Twitter at Nicole F. Shirman on Twitter, or X, or whatever they call it these days.
I refuse to call it X. It sounds like a dirty website. Like, even just typing it into my phone, if someone's looking over my shoulder, I feel gross.
It's like
just limit it to one X, and you should be okay.
No, that's going to start popping up a whole bunch of other things there, Grumpy. That's how search history works. But Grumpy, what do you want to say before you wrap things up here today?
I would just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't. From TJ, the grumpy old man, and Nicole Shirman.
There it is. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, listening. Thank you, Nicole, again for coming on. And love the updates on the prospects. Maybe we're not that far off on the prospect pool. We've got a lot of guys that can maybe contribute. We're missing the top end talent, but hey, I don't know.
We're in the top 32 in the league. That much I can tell you.
Yeah,
That's right. Maybe we don't have big boom type players, but we do have some sure, steady eddies possibly line up in the future. That's always good. You need players like that too. So good to hear that. Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you, Grumpy Old Man. We'll be live with you guys tomorrow on TJ and the Grumpy Old Man at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find that link in the description below. Thank you so much again, Nicole, for your time and knowledge. And thank you, Grumpy.
My pleasure.
Thank you.